Others ride shared bikes to school, while you ride an armed helicopter to school, just because you, who crossed over, have obtained an all-powerful system. Not only are you proficient in singing, dancing, and rapping, but your identity is also that of the feared king of mercenaries that makes underground organizations tremble at the mention. However, at this moment, you are having a headache for not being able to catch up with the military training due to the start of the school, but unexpectedly, the secretary directly arranged for a military helicopter to take you to the military training. At this moment on the playground of Nanyuan University, students are divided into squads, and the instructor solemnly starts calling out names while holding a list, and for a moment, the sound of each squad being called out fills the playground. A company of about 180 people finished calling out names in less than 2 minutes, the last one being Li Xian. After waiting for 2 or 3 seconds without a response, the instructor looked up at everyone and shouted, "Li Xian didn't come, right?" However, the students in the square team looked at each other. All of them were freshmen, and they didn't know each other, so they had no idea who Li Xian was. "It looks like there is a deserter." The students couldn't help but laugh out loud. The instructor, with a stern face, scolded, "Do you find it funny when someone is called a deserter? You were all laughing just now. Now each of you do 20 push-ups in place." No one dared to speak after hearing this, and they all obediently dispersed to prepare for push-ups. And outside the playground, several students are holding their own devices and taking pictures everywhere. Xuan was caught taking photos over there, and she was quickly punished with push-ups. As members of the student union, they have to shoot a certain amount of material during military training to be used for reporting after the military training. The campus beauty Lin Wan moved her DSLR camera to change the perspective, and happened to see the 4th platoon being punished together. Younger schoolmates are really unlucky. When Lin Wan pressed the shutter, she suddenly found something extra in the lens. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be an armed helicopter flying towards them. The sound of the propeller echoed in the sky, and everyone looked up with a puzzled expression. What is going on? Seeing this armed helicopter, the instructors subconsciously thought that some important figure had arrived, and each of them stood at attention, ready to salute at any time. Right after that, you, wearing camouflage combat uniform, slid down from above. Just as you were about to land, something fell from the helicopter, and you instinctively caught it. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be an AK-47. Before you could throw the gun back, the armed helicopter had already urgently taken off and left. Seeing that you still had a gun, the instructors quickly surrounded you. "Which unit are you from?" "I am here for military training." "Military training?" When they heard these 2 words, everyone thought they had misheard. This time, the new student military training at Nanyuan University, the instructors are all from their own military unit, and they haven't heard of any additional personnel being sent. "I am Li Xian, a freshman at Nanyuan University. You can check my information file." At this moment, everyone finally understood. When you mentioned participating in military training, you meant as a student, not as an instructor. But with your appearance, no one would believe you are a student attending military training, let alone an instructor. An instructor looked you up and down, and asked somewhat uneasily, "What was going on with the helicopter just now?" "Because I slept in the army where my uncle serves yesterday, and the journey was far, so he specially sent a plane to bring me over." You had already thought about these issues while on the plane, and now you are responding fluently, making the fake seem real. Never mind the armed helicopter. What does it mean when you're carrying an AK? Don't tell me it's your backup gun. You awkwardly smiled and said, "It's a misunderstanding. This is just a fake gun." The instructor clearly did not believe. He has also fired an AK-47. This is obviously true. Let me check the gun. In your heart, you cursed your subordinate Lu Bing 10,000 times. No need to think too much. It must be this woman causing trouble. What's wrong with enjoying a bit of college life by herself? It's not like she's not going back. This is purely favoritism from the subordinates. There is no way. You can only hand the gun to the instructor. At the moment of receiving the gun, the instructor's face changed instantly. This weight, this feel, it doesn't feel like a fake gun when I touch it. The instructor exclaimed in surprise, and for a moment the entire playground exploded with chatter, with students discussing one after another, carrying an AK for military training. So cool. Hearing the commotion around, you quickly stepped forward. At this point, I won't hide it from you. "Instructor, I was thinking about military training today, so I went to my uncle's place early to train according to your standards. This model gun is the reward for meeting the military training standards. Rest assured, it's very safe." Upon hearing your explanation, the instructor removed the magazine and took a look. It's pressed full of bullets. Real bullets. This must be the wrong one for them. Li Xian preempted this time. "You can totally take away the bullets, and then I don't want the gun." "That's always fine. Seeing Li Xian's serious face, he didn't look like he was lying. For the sake of your safety and everyone else's, I'll hold the gun for you for now, and if you want it back, let your uncle call someone to come and get it. No problem. Giving an okay gesture, Li Xian secretly sighed in relief. He didn't want to make a big deal out of it. If the guys up there knew he was coming to college, they'd be pissed off. In the past 2 years as a mercenary, quite a few orders were given by the Xia military, so he knew quite a few big shots. They had also thrown themselves an olive branch, but Li Xian liked the freedom and didn't go. Alright, go back to your own company. Yes. When Li Xian arrived at the 4th company, giving the instructor the whole won't do. It's not a student here, it's a master. The uncle who could move the Musuden at will, and reward the gun, had a military rank that was simply beyond their imagination. That's why he had to pay more attention during the military training, and not far away. Lin Wan pushed and shoved with the few people traveling with her. No, you'll have to ask. Aya, you're the president of our student council. Of course it's most appropriate for you to ask. Lin Wan blankly glanced at her good girlfriend, Duan Yafei, and said, you're still the Minister of Information. Well then, to be fair, let's all rock paper scissors. The losers will ask when they take a break. What a way to take you. Unable to do anything, Lin Wan had to compromise. As the president of the student council, it was indeed necessary for her to be as informed as possible about everything that happened on campus. Soon, military training order was restored. All companies started their military training up in order. But the previous hiccup caused everyone to be distracted. Many of the boys were looking at Li Xian with adoring faces, because it's such a cool way to make an appearance. And it's so add up that almost 99% of the freshmen will know his name. The girls were even crazier. Everyone was in puberty, and many of them had already begun to calculate in their minds how to get on good terms with Li Xian. Since it was the first day, it was all just training for simple programs. Simple commands such as stand at attention and at ease are interspersed with some running drills. About an hour passed, accompanied by a dismissal from the instructor. It's time for everyone to take a break. As the girls flocked to the cafeteria to prepare to buy water for Li Xian, suddenly a beautiful figure crossed the playground with a cup of milk tea in her hand. If it isn't our South University's schoolgirl Lin, since it's been 2 or 3 days since the report, everyone has some idea of what the school is like. If it was Li Xian that was known by everyone among their freshmen, then Lin Wan was known by the entire Southern Origin University. Not only good academic performance, but also beautiful, but also the president of the student council. The boys who like her can go around the school several times. That's right, it seems to be quite popular on certain sound. This is the face of our Nanyuan University. If I remember correctly, senior sister Lin Wan is a junior, right? TSK. It's true that the reputation is as good as the face. This is too beautiful. Surprisingly, it's even prettier than the video. I want to ask her for a VX so bad. You're asking too much. I'm content just to talk to her. In full view of everyone, Lin Wan came straight to Li Xian. Hello Mr. Li Xian. I'm the student council president Lin Wan. Welcome to Nanyuan University. With that, she handed over the milk tea in her hand. Woohoo! This move simply lit up the 32K titanium eyes of the others. The school beauty sister actually gave Li Xian milk tea? What is this? Damn! What the hell is this Li Xian? Milk tea from the schoolgirl. I want it too. So envious. The first cup of milk tea from the schoolgirl's sister in the fall. Everyone had to watch because their cell phones weren't on them. However, this scene was secretly recorded by Duan Yufei's few people not far away. They don't have to have military training. They are perfectly capable of using things like cell phones. Thanks. Li Xian did not reject his senior sister's good intentions. After receiving the milk tea, she took a sip of it and said, "What is it that schoolteacher is looking for me for? Here's the deal." Lin Wan glanced back at the direction she came from and found that Duan Yufei's few people were clenching their fists and giving her cheering gestures. I wanted to ask you how you came to school with a gun. You mean this one? Actually, how he had fooled the instructor just now. Li Xian was now fooling Lin Wan, and this scene happened to fall into the eyes of Lu Hao, who had come to look for Lin Wan. As an older student in the same class as Lin Wan, Lu Hao chased after her from her freshman year to her junior year, but none of them made the slightest progress. Despite the fact that his family is rich and he always creates all kinds of surprises and romance, Lin Wan just doesn't buy it. No, I heard that Lin Wan was filming at school today, so I specially bought Starbucks over to her. But when he stood behind Duan Yifei and the others, he saw Lin Wan talking and laughing with a freshman, and his anger immediately rose. Fifi, who is that kid? What's it to you? It's not like you guys don't know how I feel about Wan Wan. Quickly tell me, what is the relationship between the two of them? I don't know. Ask Wan Wan yourself. Duan Yifei's family history is also not simple, so he is not afraid of Lu Hao at all. You Lu Hao was so angry that his body was shaking. The goddess he'd been chasing hard for 3 years had never given himself a good look. Now you're actually volunteering to bring milk tea to other boys? No, that's something he can't stand. Solely clenching his fists, carrying the Starbucks, he quickly walked towards Li Xian and Lin Wan. Seeing this, Duan Yafei secretly said it was bad and rushed to block it. Lu Hao, what do you want to do? People are going to have military training soon. Don't make trouble. I'm not messing around. I'm just going to give him a warning. Saying that, Lu Hao forcefully bypassed Duan Yafei and came next to the two Li Xian. Come on, let's both have a good chat. Lu Hao reached out and directly hooked Li Xian's shoulder to the side. Students in the way are voluntarily getting out of the way. They hadn't spent the last few days in vain, either from the mouths of the orientation seniors or the campus posters. Learned that Lu Hao was definitely someone not to be messed with. Typical playboy rich kid, usually looks like a human being, but when he's pissed off, he'll do anything. It can't be helped. People have money, not to mention that the family has connections at the school. Lu Hao, what do you want? Lin Wan, who knew Lu Hao's character well, hurriedly chased after him. Wan, this is the coffee I bought for you. Lu Hao reached out and handed over the Starbucks bag and said, you drink it first. I have something to talk to the schoolmate. Don't think I don't know what you want. The other Li Xian is a freshman. I'm just asking him about some things out of the necessity of my position. Afraid that Li Xian would be threatened by this Lu Hao guy, Lin Wan subconsciously pulled Li Xian. There had been a similar situation before, where one was clearly just listening to a junior's report on the progress of the student council, only for that junior to be hospitalized the next day. Only afterward did he realize that he was beaten up by Lu Hao looking for someone to beat him up, and directly scared the person into quitting the student union. How similar today had been. And she really didn't want anyone else to have an accident because of something like this. Don't worry Wan, I'll just have a casual chat. I promise. I'll never make a move. Hearing this, the corner of Li Xian's mouth, who was drinking milk tea, lightly raised, and blandly said to Lin Wan, it's alright senior. It's only right to care about your junior. Right. I just want to care about my schoolmate. Nothing else. Lu Hao obediently took over the conversation, hooking Li Xian's shoulder and continuing to walk towards the green forest next to him. The students are outside in the playground for break. The green grove is deserted right now. The freshmen hesitated constantly outside the green grove, all wanting to join in the fun, but afraid to come in. Listen to me carefully. Lin Wan is my girlfriend. Please stay away from her in the future. I can get close to whoever I like. It's none of your business. Li Xian was still calmly drinking his milk tea, but drink it as if the straw is clogged with pearls. Yikes. It's blocked. Just as Li Xian was about to pull out a straw and suck on it, pa! Lu Hao lifted his hand and directly flung his milk tea to the ground and said, Lao Zi, and you talk properly. You have this attitude? Li Xian looked at the milk tea on the ground and then at the furious Lu Hao. 10 fingers flipped, gripped the straw, and violently plunged it towards the hand that Lu Hao hit the milk tea with. Ah! Pig-killing screams called out from Lu Hao's mouth, startling Lin Wan and the others who were guarding the outside. When everyone ran in, they only saw Lu Hao grasping his left hand with his right hand, with a straw still inserted in the palm of his left hand. Everyone couldn't help but gulp. How could this be? What the hell just happened? Lu Hao Sr., you don't be angry, you say you properly hit my milk tea, why? Well now, straw in hand, I'm ing. Lu Hao is in agony. It's obviously you who inserted it for me, okay? However, because Lin Wan was in the way, he couldn't say that it was Li Xian who had moved. In which case, wouldn't it be the same as if he couldn't beat him? Wan, quickly take me to the infirmary. I'm a bit bloodsick. You deserve this. Looking at the milk tea on the ground, Lin Wan didn't have any sympathy at all. Fifi, you guys take him to the infirmary. If it wasn't for the fact that he was also a student at South Source University, Lin Wan wouldn't bother with him. She hated people like that. Duan Yafei looked at the wound as he approached, and his entire being was instantly bad. The straw actually pierced Lu Hao's left hand directly. Red blood continued to drip down the outside of the straw. I'm afraid you'll have to call an ambulance for this. And at that moment, the instructor rushed in on the wind, and when he saw Lu Hao's situation, his brows couldn't help but furrow. The plastic straw actually penetrated the palm of the hand. Quick, get to the hospital. After Lu Hao was sent away, Li Xian looked at the milk tea on the ground and apologized to Lin Wan. Sorry senior sister. The milk tea was spilled by senior. However, Lin Wan doesn't care about milk tea. It's fine. Did he say anything weird? Strange words. Li Xian clasped his hands and stroked his chin in thought. He said that school sister is his girlfriend and told me to stay away from you. Nonsense. Don't you listen to him? I have nothing to do with him. Lin Wan was furious. This guy was actually that shameless. Oh yeah. Suddenly thinking of something, Lin Wan hurriedly asked again with concern. Did he say anything else to threaten you just now? Nope. Shaking his head, Li Xian put his hand on his chest and said somewhat nervously, but Senior Lu Hao really startled me by hitting the milk tea just now. I'm sorry schoolmate Li Xian. It's because of me that this happened to you. Lin Wan was busy apologizing. In her opinion, Li Xian was a freshman and his mental capacity was definitely not very good. It wouldn't be good to psychologize people out. In that case, how about schoolmarm treating you to dinner later? That's not good. It's good that the school beauty invites you to dinner, but there are so many suitors for the school beauty, so if a few more people like Lu Hao come out, it'll be more annoying. It's not scary, but it's distracting to have a bunch of flies squawking around you. Seeing that Li Xian seemed a bit hesitant, Lin Wan relieved. Don't worry, let's go eat outside the school. We won't be seen. Yes, that fish hot pot at the entrance is good. I highly recommend it. At this time, Duan Yafei came over and interjected. How can you not call me for something like dinner? Well, then. Soon the break was over. Li Xian continued to participate in military training. Lin Wan and Duan Yafei, on the other hand, were waiting for Li Xian's lunch break. Sitting under the shade of a tree, Lin Wan took pictures from time to time with a video camera. Wan, what do you think of Li Xian? It's okay, not annoying. Yo. Looks like you have a thing for people. Having been Lin Wan's best friend for so many years, Duan Yafei was very clear. This woman, who doesn't care on the surface, has more than likely had her heart set on it. That's the first time I've ever heard you judge a man and say you don't hate him. What's the point? There are plenty of people I don't hate. Lin Wan rolled her eyes and continued filming the material without a care in the world. Don't you pretend with me. Saying that, Duan Yafei snatched her DSLR camera with one hand and opened the photos that had been taken to view them. If you don't care about him, why does he appear in 9 of the 10 pictures you take? It's just a coincidence. Lin Wan didn't dare to meet Duan Yafei's eyes and subconsciously reached out to snatch the camera back. Hey, after all, it's coincidence who carries it all alone. Without arguing with her, Duan Yafei simply took out his cell phone to pass the time. When he opened the campus posting, he noticed something peculiar about the title of the latest reply to a thread. Shocked. School beauty Lin Wan has a crush on freshman Li Xian. Tap in and find there are photos. It looks like someone inside the military trainees smuggled out a cell phone. Good lord, what's going on here? Sister Lin Wan is giving milk tea to the new students in military training? Wow. I want to drink milk tea too. Is this true? I'll testify that I saw Sister Lin Wan deliver it to him with my own eyes. Testimony +1. Testimony +2. Is this your boyfriend? One thing is for sure. This Li Xian is indeed quite handsome. I don't think it's a boyfriend. In my opinion, it's a schoolmate's heart. I'd be equally impressed if I were a girl. Sister, leave Li Xian to us. Wow. Is this our new XX Junior? Sisters, I'm charging ahead. Don't grab it. Li Xian is mine. First come, first served. Everyone. Duan Yufei casually slid around and realized that most of the replies were because of Li Xian. In just under half an hour, there were actually over 2,000 replies. That's a pretty scary statistic in campus posting. And near the playground, more and more girls gathered. Even if it was in the sun, I waited there with an umbrella. Some brought flowers, some brought gifts, and some even made love bento lunches to come over. It was just too much. As for the posts, they have been at the top of the bar for a long time, and the heat is still constant even after the lunch break. Sister, let's go. Looking at Li Xian, who dissolved and walked over, Duan Yufei smiled and handed his cell phone over and said, Senior, you're on fire in our posting bar. Just as Li Xian approached, Lin Wan took out the tissues she had with her and drew 2 out. Here, I see you're exhausted. Thank you, sister. Even though Li Xian wasn't sweating, he still collected the paper towel and pretended to wipe it twice. Li Xian's current physical fitness was far beyond normal, and just this amount of exercise was not enough to make him sweat. But this scene, looking around the boys' envy. At the end of the military training, the school flower sister personally handing paper towels. This what treatment the girls, not to mention, if it wasn't for Lin Wan, I'm afraid they would have already rushed up and surrounded Li Xian. Schoolboy, you're on fire in our posting bar. At that moment, Duan Yufei handed her cell phone over. Li Xian casually flipped through the post and didn't care much about it. These people like to make a fuss. Just ignore them. Show me yet. Lin Wan snatched the phone over and immediately distanced herself from Li Xian after reading it. Duan Yufei, why didn't you warn me earlier? Why am I reminding you? You're not filming material. Duan Yufei smiled thievishly. She did it on purpose, deliberately letting those older students outside the playground see her waiting for Li Xian. She was now at a loss for words. Li Xian, next to the east gate of the school. Old Jiangnan, I'll wait for you there. After saying that, Lin Wan left from the other side without looking back. Duan Yafei, on the other hand, whispered to Li Xian. She's thin-skinned, so we'll go over there first. Yes. Compared to Lin Wan, Li Xian felt that Duan Yafei's personality was quite cheerful. After the two of them walked away, Li Xian suddenly felt a powerful aura. Turning around, he saw that all those girls who had been at the outermost part of the playground earlier were all running towards him at that moment. At a glance, there were no less than 30. Instinct told him to run as fast as he could, because his own face value was online. He had also taken the system-rewarded marrow cleansing pill before, eliminating the excess impurities in his body, resulting in a higher level of face value, coupled with a big and tall 185. It is undoubtedly the image of a male god in the minds of girls. I've missed the face value part of the equation. Senior Li Xian, can you add a VX? Schoolboy, don't run away. Sister is very gentle. Junior Li Xian, senior sister made you a love bento. Have some. Schoolboy, do you believe in love at first sight? Fortunately, Li Xian's physical fitness was good, and he easily shook them off. When he arrived at the old Jiangnan Hotel, Duan Yafei was waiting for himself at the front door. Where's Sister Lin Wan? Told you the face was thin. She's waiting in the booth. Let's go. I'll let you try the most authentic fish hot pot in Nanyuan. As the two of them walked towards the upper floors, coincidentally, a few people walked down on their faces, and seeing them, Duan Yafei subconsciously tried to walk back. Yo, if it isn't Fifi, you're here for dinner too? At the sound, Li Xian sized up the other party. This was running into an acquaintance. Since she was seen, Duan Yafei didn't avoid it anymore and frankly admitted. Yes, what's the matter? You're usually with Lin Big Schoolgirl. You're here. It's hard to believe that she's also here. With that, Song Qing glanced upstairs. None of your business. Li Xian, let's go. Watching the two walk upstairs, Song Qing immediately took out his cell phone and called Lu Hao. As Lu Hao's #1 follower, he usually didn't help him keep an eye on Lin Wan's movements. Brother Hao, I ran into Duan Yafei in old Jiangnan. She's got a guy with her. I think his name is Li Xian or something. Looks like a freshman. I reckon my sister-in-law is there too. He didn't usually pay much attention to posters, so he didn't really know what was going on with them at this point. In the hospital, Lu Hao, who had already treated his wounds and was hanging a bottle, suddenly sat up from the bed in shock. What? They went to old Gangnam for dinner? Keep an eye out for me and keep me posted. Hanging up Song Qing's phone, Lu Hao turned his hand and dialed another call out. It's me. Take someone to stand guard outside old Jiangnan. When you see anyone walking with Lin Wan, when they separate, beat them to death for me. Then the usual rules. No problem, Xiao Lu. I'll bring my brothers over right now. I guarantee you'll receive the video in a while. Remember, don't let Lin Wan see it. Understood. Hanging up the phone, Lu Hao sat leaning against the bed, his eyes full of gloom. Li Xian, right? Dare to offend me, Lu Hao? You're finished. Inside the city of Nanyuan, in a certain company building, a man sat in his boss chair, leisurely smoking a cigar. Beside him crouched a secretary in professional OL attire squeezing his legs. 2 words in place. How's it going with Lu? Almost done talking. Just waiting for you to pick a date to sign. Buzz buzz. Suddenly, the cell phone rang, and the man picked it up carelessly and looked at it. He blushed and answered the phone while waving his hand to the secretary beside him to signal her to go out. Hey, Ice, do you have any orders? Xian went to your place. Know what to do, right? On the phone, Lu Bing said coldly, hearing the man a little confused. Xian? It sounded a little familiar, but I couldn't remember who it was for a moment. Sister Bing, the Xian you're talking about? Zhao Yiqiang, you have a pretty bad memory. Have you forgotten who gave you everything you have now? Of course I haven't forgotten. Zhao Yiqiang replied busily. The reason I have everything I have now is all because of Sister Bing. A year ago, his company faced a debt crisis. A few faced jumping off a building to commit suicide. Is Lu Bing this woman out to save him? After that, with the help of her mysterious organization, it even got bigger and bigger, and now occupies half of the country in South Source, white and black. Basically, he has his connections, and it's not too much of a stretch to describe him as having all the wind and all the rain. This kind of favor, he Zhao Yiqiang lifelong unforgettable. No, you're not relying on me, you're relying on Xian. Hearing this, Zhao Yiqiang was sweating anxiously as he remembered. Previously, Lu Bing did mention once that the boss of her organization, it seemed like he was called Xian, but because he hadn't been in contact for too long, it caused him to forget about it. So this brother Xian, is his big sister's big brother? Sister Bing, look at my memory. I remembered. Where is brother Xian? I'm going to fetch him now. Currently eating at old Jiangnan. Xian doesn't want it to be too high profile. Understand? Understood. Understood. Zhao Yiqiang nodded his head busily, his legs still shaking a little after hanging up the phone. Just the thought of Lu Bing was terrifying enough. What would her big brother be like? Spinning around, he rushed the secretary outside the office and ordered, "Quickly, prepare a car to go to Old Jiangnan, Old Gangnam." It's an old restaurant that's been open for 6 or 7 years. Although it was opened outside of Nanyuan University, the level of consumption was not low, with 200 per capita going upwards. It's certainly a high-spending place for most college students. Of course, because of the good reputation, even if it's far away, people will come looking for the flavor. As for Lin Wan and Duan Yufei, both are regular customers and come back every other day to eat. And at that moment, in front of the hotel, a van suddenly stopped. Inside the car sat 6 or 7 men with tattoos on their arms. All set? Don't worry, Tiger. This isn't the first time we've done this. We're ready. Several of the people in the car were wearing hoods, so they couldn't be seen at all. Immediately afterward, Song Qin, who had been waiting outside for a long time, came to the car and knocked on the glass, and Tiger lowered the window. People are still in there, right? Yes. I'll find someone to support Lin Wan away later. I'll leave it to you guys then. Tiger nodded in satisfaction and said, "What about this?" He only raised his hand and rubbed his thumb and forefinger against each other. "Don't worry, brother Hao won't treat you badly. The video is in place and the money is coming to you immediately." Okay. About half an hour later, the two of them, Li Xian and Lin Wan, who had had enough wine and food, walked out. And at that moment, it so happened that a girl came rushing over from the east gate of the school and said, "Sister Lin Wan, the information you submitted earlier seems to be wrong. Go and take a look. You guys go ahead and get busy. Don't worry about me. Then cheer up this afternoon for military training." Before Lin Wan left, she didn't forget to cheer on Li Xian, and Duan Yufei waved her hand with a smile. "Bye-bye Li Xian." Just now, inside the private room, they all talked to each other about a lot of things. The meal also brought the three of them much closer together. After seeing the two girls enter the school gate, Li Xian then left from the entrance of the restaurant. It was just under 12 o'clock now. Military training started at 2:30 in the afternoon. There was still quite a bit of time left. He was going to stroll around the neighborhood and familiarize himself with the environment. Suddenly, he sensed hostility. Scanning carefully, he realized that there were no suspicious people on the streets. Buzz. Across the street from the restaurant, a van started up for a U-turn. Everything is so normal. As the van turned the corner to the front of the restaurant, wow, the door of the car suddenly slid open, and from it came down 5 or 6 hooded men with sticks and such in their hands. Wow. A group of people rushed out of the car and waved their sticks at Li Xian's head. And in the car, someone with a cell phone was filming. Even though the incident was sudden, it was like playing house in front of Li Xian. Raising his hand, he grabbed a stick that was smashing over and twisted it with his backhand, snatching the stick right over. Boo boo boo. Li Xian didn't treat them politely and directly started smashing. In just 10 seconds or so, all 6 of them were lying on the ground and rolling around. Seeing this, Tiger in the car was dumbfounded. Is this student so capable of fighting? The key Lu Hao on the phone also did not say get in the car. Seeing that the situation was not good, he could only immediately greet the people and leave. But Li Xian flung his hand. The wooden stick came out of his hand and flew in through the car window, hitting Tiger's face, and a nosebleed instantly flowed out. Who sent you? Li Xian slowly entered the center door of the van and sat down, sharing a row with Tiger. You. Tiger suddenly pulled out a spring-loaded knife from his pocket, instinctively wanting to give Li Xian 2 knives, but Li Xian grabbed his wrist, and with a slight force took full control, plunging down towards Tiger's own thigh. Snort! Blood arrows flew up, and Tiger bared his teeth in pain. Which way, brother? By now, he can see that people are not ordinary people at all, and Lu Hao has messed with a tough guy this time. Answer my questions or... Halfway through his sentence, Li Xian pressed the hilt of his blade downward, causing secondary damage to the wound. Lu Hao. It was Lu Hao who called me. Hearing this, Li Xian let go of his hand and wiped it on Tiger's clothes in the process. Today is considered to be a bit of a lesson for you guys. If there's a next time, I'll let you see your own leg bones. After saying that, Li Xian directly got off the car and went straight to the small supermarket next to buy a pack of cigarettes. As he walked out smoking a cigarette, the van just happened to drive away from the door. It seems to have its own necessary to find Lu Hao to have a good chat. And the school gates. Passing students watched in awe as it happened so quickly that they didn't have time to film it. As a result, the campus bar's post about Lin Wan was topped. Li Xian's off-campus action. 1 against many. There are no photos or anything to prove it, but the poster described the scene in words. What the hell? Is the schoolboy that dense? Just kidding. My schoolmate came to military training with an AK. Loved. So secure. Who gave you permission to post my husband? Upstairs want to be shameless. Still husband? I guess they do not know you. By the way, does anyone know which dormitory room Li Xian lives in? I wouldn't tell you even if I knew. It's not like I'm revealing someone's privacy. In the hospital. Lu Hao likewise saw the posting. What a bunch of losers. But this Li Xian does have some skills. Thinking about it, he took the initiative to dial Tiger's number. Lu Xiao. Tiger on the other end of the phone was a bit stumped. Alright, I know all about it. Just send me the video of you guys getting beat up. Yes. Tiger didn't dawdle and immediately hung up the phone and sent over the video that he had just recorded of Li Xian hitting someone. Since we can't show the beaten side of him, we'll vilify it. As a student, fighting is expressly forbidden. Song Qin, find someone who can edit and process the video for me. I want the school to give him a disciplinary action. Song Qin, who was also sitting in the ward, nodded and immediately started contacting people. On the other hand, Zhao Yiqiang, who had arrived late, did not see the so-called Xian. He bravely took the initiative to contact Sister Bing, only to learn that brother Xian was actually in military training. For a moment, he stood in a bit of a mess in front of the old Jiangnan Hotel. Such a powerful character is actually a student? So, Zhao Yiqiang directly called Lu Yue, the president of Nanyuan University. At school? Check a student for me, named Li Xian. Mr. Zhao, wait for me for 2 minutes. Lu Yue on the other end of the phone hurriedly checked on the school system, and then said as if reporting his work. This side found out that it is a new student, currently in the 4th Company military training. Yes, learning that Li Xian was in the 4th Company's military training, Zhao Yiqiang directly hung up the phone without even saying 2 polite words to the other party. And then, with his secretary in tow, he went straight inside the school to find someone. Listening to the blind tone coming from his cell phone, Lu Yue felt that something was wrong and hurriedly left the office, heading towards the playground where the 4th Company was located. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the runway, the military trainees are stretching and running, and the sound of the command is endless. With the sun beating down, everyone was sweating and gritting their teeth, but Li Xian was the only one who breathed steadily and had a normal face. Instructor Wang Yang nodded. He had been watching this student named Li Xian. It wasn't thanks to those who had received military training from the army. This physical endurance was simply not comparable to that of an ordinary student. Outside the playground, Zhao Yiqiang with his secretary watched the 4th Company from afar. Mr. Zhao, that's Li Xian over there. Zhao Yiqiang raised his eyebrows. It was really hard to imagine that this young man in his sight was his ice sister's boss. This kid only looked like a student no matter how he looked at him. Not to mention being the boss of Sister Bing. Even if he simply knew Sister Bing, it was unlikely. Mr. Zhao, are we going over there? Secretary Yuan inquired cautiously. She also knew a little bit about Zhao Yiqiang, so she was equally excited for a few moments, wanting to verify if the other party was the person they were looking for or not. Go over there for what? Can't you see Xian running? If we delay brother Xian's military training, you and I can't save our lives. He has thought well. Just wait here for the other side of the end of military training. Never rashly disturbed. To go up to say hello, also have to wait for people. Today's military training is over again. We're just going to wait here forever? What about your partnership talks later? Yuan is a bit incredible, because according to the schedule, Zhao Yiqiang later can have 2 more meeting arrangements, about more than $1 billion of contracts, but also about the employment opportunities of tens of thousands of people. If we keep waiting here, the other party will definitely be angry, and this matter will definitely be yellowed. Still talking about talking, compared to brother Xian, this billion or so contract is not negotiable. With a wave of his hand, he pulled Yuan and headed to a less conspicuous place. He didn't want to cause Xian to be upset because of his arrival. After all, Sister Bing said that Xian didn't like to be too high profile. Mr. Zhao. But before he could take a few steps, he was bumped into by Lu Yue, who had also come to the playground to check out the situation. You're just in time, Principal Lu. I have something I want to discuss with you. What discussion? Mr. Zhao, if you have something to do, just give a direct order. In addition to those leaders above, only Zhao Yiqiang can make him so respectful, because he can wish to sit in this position, but also thanks to Zhao Yiqiang from the help. I want you to take special care of that student named Li Xian. Li Xian? Lu Yue frowned, for the name seemed somewhat familiar. You mean, the student who came to military training today carrying an AK? School posting. Following the post of schoolgirl Lin Wan's crush on Li Xian caught fire. Another new thread has been topped. Unlike the previous ones, this one is a little more specific, being a public post. The title of the post is, Namwan University student Li Hyun. Off-campus brawl. The content is accompanied by a recorded video in addition to a text description. People who didn't want to pay too much attention to this matter all followed up below after watching the content of the video. No, is this dude that dense? When did our school get a guy like that? If it isn't AK from our freshman class, laugh me to death. How dare you give people nicknames? Beware of people shooting you with a chicken. Worthy of being the man our Lynn University schoolgirl has a crush on. Even Tiger dares to beat him up. In just half an hour, the messages had exceeded hundreds. But the content is roughly divided into two parts. Part of it was marveling at the awesome freshman named Li Xian. The other part is accusing the other side that this behavior is not right and that they must be disciplined for it. Geez, how can we have such students in Nanyuan University? It's so violent. Isn't it tarnishing the image of our school? We're in college, not a black club. How can we beat people up like this? Discipline. Strongly recommend that the school give him discipline. That's right. What about the safety of the rest of our students in case he goes off the deep end inside the school? Seeing that the water army he had arranged had already begun brushing the message of disciplining Li Xian, Lu Hao was lying on the hospital bed and laughed out happily. Ha ha ha, let's see what you kids do this time. Dare to snatch a woman from me. Don't see if you have that qualification. I shucks. He crumbled a mouthful of spit into the ground next to him, his mood following suit. Since coming in the open didn't work, he'd come in the dark. He was even able to see the image of Li Xian being expelled from the school. Worthy of being Hao. This is a great move on your part. Song Qin was beside himself with thumbs-up compliments. The reason why he will be willing to do Lu Hao's little brother, not because of the other side of the family background is powerful. The family opened the company, the assets of more than 100 million, and his dad relationship is hard enough, small to the school where they are, large to the entire city of South Source. There is no his dad do not know people or cannot handle things. I reckon by the time this kid sees the post, he'll be regretting why he went against you. The two of them laughed for a few minutes before Lu Hao reopened his mouth. This way Song Qin, you find some more people and target this kid to death for me. I'm going to make it hard for him to move an inch inside the school. Know what will happen after offending me. Lu Hao, in Southern Origin University. No problem brother Hao, I'll go arrange it. At Chu Dash, inside Nanyuan University. Li Xian, who was running along, sneezed violently. Immediately, in 4 directions, front and back, left and right, someone reached out and handed him a tissue. Are you alright, Mr. Li Xian? Are you catching a cold? Do you want me to tell the instructor for you to take a break and rest? Is your nose a little dry? I brought nasal spray. Would you like to try it? Thanks to the fact that Li Xian had seen the world, otherwise he would have to be shocked by this battle. This one. Know that everyone is the first day of acquaintance. Do not know that they thought they had known for how long is the same. It is too warm-hearted. Not far away, there was even Lin Wan and Duan Yufei watching. They were worried about Li Xian after seeing the posting thing which made them run over to take a look, but seeing the other party alive and well, they were relieved. Fifi, what do you think he's really from? The fight seems a bit powerful. Oh. Lin Wan sat on a piece of lawn with her hands clasping her legs and her chin resting on her knees, distracting countless freshman schoolmates who were in military training. What from? I don't know. All I know is that he's now officially my idol. Idol? Lin Wan awkwardly looked at Duan Yafei, her good sister, and a big question mark popped up in her head. In all the time she'd known each other, it was the first time she'd seen the other woman make that kind of comment about a guy. Fei, you don't think you like someone else? Li Xian, do you? Where? Being said that by her, Duan Yafei's cool face suddenly had a little more redness on it. I just don't think he's like the others. How is it different? Isn't it just the same? Are you sure? Duan Yufei stared at her with questioning eyes. She herself was at most more interested in Li Xian. If she really wanted to talk about liking Li Xian, it was obvious that Lin Wan was the one. With her understanding of Lin Wan, both the way she looked at Li Xian and the tone of her voice when she spoke were not quite the same as in the past. It was from the bottom of her heart revealing something called gentleness. Indeed. Sure. It's no fun for you to pretend in front of me. Well, do you need me to help you? As long as Lin Wan nodded her head, she would make sure to use her fastest speed to go and find out all about Li Xian for this good sister of hers. What does the family do? Do they have any siblings? What do they like to do in their spare time and so on and so forth? Take it all down. Go. Don't talk nonsense. I just feel a sense of déjà vu about him. What? You've dreamed about him in your dreams? Without any words, Lin Wan directly rolled her eyes, because she truly felt that Li Xian looked familiar. Perhaps it wasn't certain that the two of them had met somewhere before. However, Duan Yufei listened with her left ear and her right ear, and did not pay any attention to the matter of déjà vu that she said, because in her opinion, it was just a reason that Lin Wan found for herself. Dismissed in place, the two were chatting. when the roar of the 4th Squadron, Instructor Wang Yong, came from not far away. Everyone, including Li Xian, dispersed in a flurry, looking for a shady place to rest. Seeing this, Lin Wan smoothly picked up the long-prepared iced coffee and walked over. However, before her, some girls who thought they were still in good condition in terms of appearance had already surrounded Li Xian. Classmate Li Xian, do you drink oolong tea? I specially made it from home to bring it to you. Come on, how long have you had that sitting there? The ice melted long ago. Better drink the coconut milk I just ordered as takeout. Li Xian. How unhealthy are those drinks of yours? Better drink my water. For a while, Li Xian was not drinking anything given by anyone, and could only wave his hand and politely refuse. Thinking back to the beginning, where did he get this kind of treatment? If he hadn't become a member of the army of travelers, he wouldn't even dare to think that he could have today. Alright you guys, don't you know that Li Xian's name is taken? What are you all doing? At the back of the crowd, Duan Yafei's voice came out, causing the chaotic scene to finally be brought under control. She was seen pulling Lin Wan all the way through the crowd and walked straight to Li Xian. Wan made iced coffee especially for you. Try it. Specially made? He was a little confused. This chick couldn't really like herself, could she? Although his goal is to have a better college life, but the first time he comes up with this kind of operation, what can he do subsequently? He was not what he used to be, and it was not his style to hang himself on a tree. His goal is a sea of stars and acres of green forest. So it's very important to take care of the image at this stage. Either you don't take these drinks or you take them all. Yeah, they made it especially for you. Why don't you try it? Seeing the special thermos cup that Lin Wan handed to him, Li Xian thought about it. It was okay to refuse others, but it would be a little bit not so good if he refused Lin Wan. The two of them had only eaten together at noon. The relationship was naturally a little more special than others. Taking a shallow taste, the feeling was in one word. Awesome. Ice cold. A couple of sips on this hot sunny day is just too good to pass up. The key is still a gift from a beautiful woman, and it feels like it's doubled straight away. This scene looked like the other girls couldn't help but lose their minds. Li Xian had rejected them but accepted Lin Wan. This could already show that people didn't want to take care of them. Thank you all for your kindness. Forget it this time. I'll take it all. Don't give it away next time. When the crowd was disheartened, Li Xian's voice revived their hope. Could it be that they were overthinking it, and that people actually didn't have anything with Lin Wan? If the two really wanted something, there was no way Li Xian would accept something from them. After all, Lin Wan as a girl would definitely be angry. It was only after Li Xian took the drinks they had carefully prepared over one by one that they dared to be sure. The relationship between the two doesn't seem to be what they think it is. There is still hope for myself. At the thought that they were stealing a man from the school's flower, each one of them was as if they were on the verge of an attack, and they were all in high spirits. There were even people who wanted to use unnatural means to take shortcuts and directly take down Li Xian. Feeling the gazes of the ladies, Li Xian's back inexplicably went a little cold. Make way for all of you. Suddenly, a silhouette dashed through the crowd, heading straight for Li Xian, his opponent charging with the ball, visually de-starting, giving him a look of hard control in place. At the same time as the sound appeared, vibrations came from the ground right after it. Everyone followed the sound and saw a heavyweight competitor coming straight at Li Xian. Compared to her size, it's all small potatoes to D. Even Li Xian could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. The other side of the weight estimate must have a 200 or 300 pounds. The key is also high. There must be 180 like. Live and let live Barbie King Kong. Classmate Li Xian, this is the orange juice I just bought for you. Have some. Vom. The surrounding people were all forcibly holding back their discomfort. On her condition, how could she have the nerve to come and hang around in front of other people's Li Xian? What are you staring at, Li Xian student? I have just tasted it for you. The flavor is very sweet. Only, what a guy. You've tasted it yourself and you're giving it to someone else to drink? Even if Li Xian's mind was good, it was difficult to strain at this moment. Only what? He tried to pick up the conversation, trying to distract the other man. Only it shouldn't be as sweet as me. Vomit. It's taut. Some of the less tolerant had already turned their heads and ran a short distance away to start puking. The tonality, the clip tone, and the words, it's a direct shot at them. Li Xian was also sweating profusely now. Embarrassed. Just too embarrassed. After all, he had just taken other people's things, and it seemed a bit unreasonable not to take hers. What's wrong, Li Xian-san? Do you dislike me? For a while, her word of dislike caused the other girls around her to stare at Li Xian, and they were all expecting Li Xian's answer as well. If they refused, it might seem like they were disliking the other party alone, but in reality, they were also able to understand the truth that Li Xian was picking on someone. No, how is that possible? It's just that I've had so much to drink just now that I can't drink anymore. Then take a sip. One sip and I'll be satisfied. Okay? Seeing the expectant eyes flashing in the other party's eyes, Li Xian was simply too much inside. If it was still abroad, he wouldn't even hesitate to have someone pull it out and shoot it for 10 minutes. I say, can you not be so thick-skinned? People can't even drink anymore. And you still make this kind of request, trying to morally kidnap someone. Finally, Duan Yafei, who couldn't stand watching, stepped in. She wasn't as good-tempered as Lin Wan, and if she came across anything that upset her, she would definitely say it outright. Like right now. For example, the more she looked at this girl, the more she looked at her, to the point of wanting to smack her. What's the matter? You only allow Li Xian to drink your stuff, but you can't let him drink mine? On what grounds? Is it hard to believe that you're all discriminating against me for being fat? A few random words, directly pulling Duan Yufei down as well. Discrimination can be much worse than moral abduction. This student, we don't mean to discriminate against you. It's just that you gave something to Mr. Li Xian that you yourself drank. Wouldn't you find it unhygienic and impolite? No matter how good Lin Wan's character was, she followed suit and opened her mouth. Seriously, we are all girls. They don't judge each other by their appearance to ridicule each other or even dislike each other. At least she and Duan Yufei don't. And it's just not right for her to give someone Li Xian something she drank. It would be understandable if it was in a very scarce situation, but it's over the top for her to force it when people are receiving so much. Not far, Song Qin was sitting on a bench filming with his cell phone, a smile evident at the corners of his mouth. He got this fat chick and paid her $1,000 to make such a scene. It was simply to discuss Li Xian and incidentally discredit him and stigmatize his reputation. Anyway, Lu Hao said that he was targeting Li Xian, and he didn't say exactly how to target him. It was all up to him to play freely. Not only that, he even arranged for some people to fan the flames. I can kind of see that Li Xian only accepts drinks from beautiful women, and tries to reject those with poor external conditions. Holy, that double standard? I thought he was really that nice. Gee guys, you'd better polish your eyes. Don't be deceived by his human-like appearance. Watching the crowd, there were some shrill voices that went along with the fat girl's angry voice. The atmosphere of the scene suddenly became awkward. Aside from Duan Yufei and Lin Wan, as well as the few other girls who were blindly worshipping Li Xian, the rest of them couldn't help but start to re-examine this matter. Isn't the whole point of coming to military training on a high note to get attention? Isn't hitting someone right afterward and showing what you're made of just spreading the bait and fishing? The girls now were the school of fish, all surrounding Li Xian, so the other man began to pick from them what would satisfy him to accept. Looking at it that way, it seems like the guy isn't as smooth as he could be. Such is the case with public opinion. Maybe it's a long story, or maybe it's because of a certain phrase. It will be able to turn the wind one way or the other. In response, Li Xian only had one thing to say. I bought a watch last year. You're just collecting drinks, and you're getting into this? He was also convinced. Who was it that was just talking about me being human? Please step forward for a moment. Yet the scene was silent, and even those voices analyzing him followed suit. Everyone looks at me, I look at you, and no one reacts. What? You have the guts to say it, but not the guts to admit it? He was worried that he couldn't find a reason to turn down the other man's drink. And now, well, here was his chance. As long as he continued along with the conversation, the drink could not have gotten to him, but it was still quiet all around, and no one acknowledged it. You don't dare to admit it, do you? Then you can hold it in, but I can't guarantee that you'll still be able to come to military training tomorrow. There's no chance that when you go back today, something unexpected will happen, like a kidnapping or a car accident or something. He said this simply to try to threaten the other side and ask why they were targeting him so much. This was a domestic school, at least, and his foreign routine had long since been put away. Unbeknownst to them, far away in a secret base abroad, looking at the images secretly taken by his men at the scene, Lu Bing raised his hand and slammed the table. Pissed off. How dare you talk about Xian like that? One could only say that these women were too ignorant to realize who this one standing in front of them really was. This is the internationally renowned Xuan himself, an existence that both the official and private organizations of each country desperately wanted to draw in. The blood stained in his hands is measured in tens of thousands, and talking to him like that, I'm afraid he really hasn't died. Thinking of this, he directly opened his voice and ordered to the person disguised as a student who was filming the footage of this scene. Do what Brother Xian said right away, who all were bad-mouthing him just now. Don't let any of them go. Roger Ice. The voice was full of respect, but in the next second he turned his head to look not far away, at Song Qin, who was sitting on a bench, and suddenly remembered something. Oh yeah, Ice. I also noticed a guy not too far away laughing. Laughing a lot? Then tie them together. Roger that. The order has just been given. Within the many resting students, some people stood up successively. They glanced at each other from afar as if they were exchanging something, and then dispersed, striking out directly at the person who had previously stood in the crowd and analyzed Li Xian loudly. Classmate, there's something I want to talk to you about. Finally, I found you. Come here and I'll show you a big baby. Some of them are okay with just pulling people away on any excuse. Some don't even bother to talk. Get close enough to deliver a hand to the neck and give it a straight back walk. It was only 2 or 3 minutes before and after, and half a dozen men and women had been gotten out of the crowd. And when Song Qin saw this scene from outside the crowd, he subconsciously prepared to get up, but he was only halfway to his feet when he was pressed down by someone's shoulders. Where do you want to go? Let's talk. Forget it, Li Xian. Since they don't dare to admit it, let them be. Let's not get on their bad side. After Li Xian made some fruitless inquiries, Duan Yufei was like a comic relief, immediately helping to find steps. Li Xian didn't bother to ask again. His purpose was originally to distract the crowd, thus refusing to take the fat girl's milk tea. You guys are on your own. Throwing down his words, Li Xian left the field directly as if he was angry. It wasn't until he disappeared inside the crowd's line of sight that the girls who favored him were the ones who reacted and started complaining to the others. This is great. Li Xian's classmates are angry. Are you guys happy? I really don't know what you guys are thinking. People have to go and analyze what they do. You guys live by the sea. What do you care so much? That's right. What people do is their freedom. One by one. They really can't eat grapes and say grapes are sour. Disgusting. However, the people present were all innocent, and the people who had incited the fire and attempted to discredit Li Xian just now had already been uniformly brought to other places by the people arranged by Lu Bing. Inside the old school building, in a high-level classroom, along with Song Qin, a total of 8 people stood in a row. No dude. What the hell do you guys want? We have nothing against you. Why are you beating us? Several people's heads were bruised and swollen, and even their clothes had a lot of soiled places, so it was obvious that they had been violently beaten up. Because you're dissing people, and I don't look happy about it. Denigration? Song Qin instantly figured out that the other party must be because of what happened to Li Xian, but he wasn't involved. He was just filming with his cell phone in the outfield. There was no reason to suspect himself anymore, right? Then you must be mistaken. How can I denigrate him when I sat on the other side the whole time? It's true you didn't denigrate, but you laughed, and laughed a lot. When he heard that he had been grabbed together and brutally beaten up for a while because of this, Song Qin wanted to die. Is there any law at all? Can't you even smile nowadays? As for you all, tell me, why are you targeting someone else? Li Xian? Wei? The other 7 people were all found by Song Qin, but they also took benefits from others and would not give Song Qin up until they had to. If you don't, then we'll play again later until you do. It's Song Qin. He made us do that. Under Zhao Yan's coercion, these 7 people directly confessed to leniency, causing Song Qin on the side to be incomparably embarrassed. Just now, he had said that he was not involved in discrediting Li Xian, but it turned out that he had become the mastermind in the next second. Whoa, I said, why are you laughing so much? So it's you boys who are up to no good. Zhao Yan rubbed his hands together and smiled very kindly at Song Qin. You, stay away. Come any closer and I'll scream. Somebody, save. About 2 minutes later, once again, Song Qin, who had been brutally beaten up, was lifted from the ground by Zhao Yan's grip on his hair. Say, why are you targeting Li Xian? It's, Hao. Hao told me to do that. Lu Hao. Right, that's him. Zhao Yan. As one of the many henchmen that Lu Bing had planted into the school, they had already investigated and understood the information of quite a few people in the school long before they enrolled. Take Lu Hao, for example. The other party was a business family, one of the best in South Source. That's why he himself is so reckless. I thought that after being beaten up by Xian in the morning, I should have been honest. Then in that case, the people who were looking for trouble with him and old Jiangnan were also arranged by Lu Hao. Yeah, it's Hao too. Having already been fatally beaten twice, his body was sore and aching, but he didn't dare to disobey the other party again, only thinking that he could be released in a hurry. What about the posting thing? It was also arranged by Hao, who asked me to find someone. Immediately, he gave a truthful account of everything he knew, and even sent Zhao Yan a copy of the original file of the video he received from Lu Hao. Zhao Yan turned his hand and passed it to Lu Bing. Fine. Lu Hao. This brat retaliated against brother Xian even if it's not enough, but he still dares to distort the facts? In a fit of rage, she opened her own special laptop and her long, slender fingers kept tapping the keyboard. Not long after, inside the South Source University's posting bar, the content of the post about Li Xian's off-campus brawl was directly modified, and underneath the edited video, there was more of the original video that she had newly put up. As for the accounts that acted as water armies, She even sifted them out one by one and exposed them directly inside the post. Dozens of accounts had the same IP address, which meant that they were logged in on the same device. It's not a relief to be done with this. She called Zhao Yicheng directly. It's me. Warn the Lu family to keep Lu Hao in check. Or don't blame me if you die. Okay, Ice. I'll inform. Oh no. Go warn right away. In the office of the president of Nanyuan University, Zhao Yicheng was busy nodding his head, giving Lu Yue, who was sitting across from him, a dumbfounded look. Who the hell was on the other end of the phone? Actually, even a big shot of Zhao Yicheng's level was so respectful? After listening to Lu Bing finish the story, he hung up the phone. There was also no avoidance of suspicion. Directly calling the Lu family where Lu Hao was located in front of Lu Yue. By coincidence, he was recently negotiating a cooperation with the Lu family. Originally, he had planned to sign the contract this afternoon, but because of Li Xian's matter, he didn't go and let the other party off the hook. Suppressing his inner fire, he skillfully rummaged inside the address book to find Lu Qiming's name and dialed the phone. If you dare to offend Li Xian, you are offending his sister Bing. And even more so, you are offending him. Zhao Yicheng. Mr. Zhao, I was just about to call you. Didn't we agree to sign the contract this afternoon? I've been waiting for you here for half a day. Why haven't you arrived yet? Was there some temporary delay? Only just connected. Lu Qiming began to inquire on the other end of the phone, but still did not dare to complain too directly, simply because the Lu family was simply on two levels compared to the Zhao family. His Lu family is still counting on the fact that he can take this cooperation and let his family's assets expand some more. There's been a bit of a delay, but it's to do with your son. With my son? Lu Qiming had two big heads. When did his son know Zhao Yicheng? That kid, does he deserve it? Mr. Zhao, is it Xiaohao where he has upset you or something? Just give me the word. I will definitely make him personally kneel down and apologize to you. He's not upsetting me, he's upsetting my boss's boss. Boss of bosses? Lu Qiming, the more he listened to the more confused. How the boss is all screwed up. Someone as powerful as Zhao Yicheng has a boss? And what kind of horrible status should the other party have? And how did that asshole kid Lu Hao have the chance to provoke people? Several doubts popped up in a row, and he was sweating with impatience. I'm sorry, Mr. Zhao. Although I don't know exactly what happened yet, I promise I'll make sure that bastard comes over to apologize to you. What's the use of apologizing to me? Let him go and apologize to the people he invoked himself. If this matter is not done well, your Lu family, not to mention development, I can even make your Lu family completely disappear in southern origin. Anger. He's really too angry. Especially after hearing Lu Bing mention the things Lu Hao did to Li Xian. He was so angry that his body was shaking. Mr. Zhao, today's military training seems to have ended. The secretary, Yuan, came in from outside, where she had been keeping an eye on the playground. After seeing that most of the companies had been disbanded, she was the first to come in and report to Zhao Yicheng. Come on then, let's hurry down. Not even bothering to drink the tea Lu Yue had just poured, he got up and left with Yuan. He had already asked Yuan to book a place at the most expensive restaurant in Nanyuan, and he was going to receive Li Xian, also get a good exposure to him, the godly top boss. But when he and Yuan arrived at the playground below, they found two more girls standing beside Li Xian. He fixed his eyes on them and realized they all looked quite familiar. Isn't this the two girls from the Duan and Lin families? How did they get mixed up with Xian? Seeing the two, he vaguely remembered as if the Duan family had invited him to attend a charity dinner today. Originally, he wanted to refuse, but now that he saw that Li Xian and the other Chen Jinmis were talking and laughing, and were quite close, he was wondering if he should agree to the other person for Li Xian's sake. Li Xian, do you have time tonight? I think, has it? Li Xian smiled awkwardly. He had only just returned to southern origin after temporarily ending his tense and exciting mercenary life. Naturally, he wanted to enjoy life more. Anything work-related he wanted to avoid as much as possible during these next 3 years of college. It is natural for him to participate actively in social events to which he is invited by others. Well then, go back and get ready and come to the Herwan Hotel at 7 o'clock in the evening. Dinner again? To be precise, I'd like to introduce you to some friends. As the Duan family's daughter, she knew people who were either rich or noble, so she wanted to take advantage of today's charity dinner to introduce a few of the local Nanyuan's broad young ladies to him. After all, Lu Hao had already set his sights on him, and with Lu Hao's character, he would definitely come back for more trouble afterward, so getting to know a few more people would only benefit him. Who is it? Is it from our school too? Geez, you'll know when the time comes. Keep it a secret for now. Seeing that the other party was being mysterious, Li Xian didn't pursue further. Okay, then I'll go back for a while. See you tonight. Bye-bye Li Xian. Saying goodbye to the two women, Li Xian took out his cell phone and prepared to ask Lu Bing which neighborhood the apartment the other party had prepared for him was in. He rushed to military training, plus the weather was so hot. His body was weirdly uncomfortable. It was better to go back and take a shower. Hello Xian. But before he could open his cell phone, a middle-aged man's voice came from behind him. Turning back, a man and a woman. The man was wearing a high-fashion suit and a diamond-encrusted gold watch on his hand, and the whole man looked like he had the authority of someone who had been in power for a long time. Beside the woman is a set of OL professional dress, painted a light makeup, looks to give people a kind of quiet feeling, but in terms of the other party's age, wasn't it a bit wrong to open his mouth and call him a man who had just turned 18 his brother? Mostly because he didn't know him himself either. You are? First time meeting, introduce yourself. My name is Zhao. My full name is Zhao Yiqiang, and I'm considered Sister Bing's subordinate. Sister Bing? You mean Lu Bing? Right. In that case, it would make sense for the other party to call himself Brother Xian. It's fine if you call Brother Xian in private, but in the future, in front of others, it's better for you to just call me by my name. He wasn't much of a high-profile guy, plus he wanted to have a great college experience. So things like a middle-aged man calling himself brother were better off not happening at all. And Li Xian's reaction also confirmed to the two that his identity was indeed fine. The one in front of him is really his boss's boss. Okay Xian, you see it's getting late. Why don't we go to the restaurant and dine first? I've booked a place at the Xuan Hotel, just for you. He hadn't been idle just now inside Lu Yue's office. While asking Lu Yue for all the information about Li Xian as a student, he also personally called the restaurant to book a place. And even the dishes were carefully selected for fear that they would not be to Li Xian's liking. No, I have to ask Lu Bing where the apartment she set me up in is, so I'll go back and take a shower first. Apartment? Zhao Yiqiang and Yuan froze at the same time. With Li Xian's status, he's actually living in an apartment? This mustn't be a direct arrangement for a villa estate or something? No more than a large flat. A small apartment would not accommodate a big man like him. What's wrong? What's wrong with the apartment? Li Xian clearly hadn't realized what the problem was, and likewise looked a bit uncertain. Alright Brother Xian, arriving at South Source is returning home. I have a villa in 100 Lakes Imperial View. You can go directly to live over there. How is that good? Although he was Lu Bing's subordinate, he did not want to take advantage of this kind of cheapness. Brother Xian, what's there to be embarrassed about? Sister Bing is my boss and you are Sister Bing's boss. What's the point of being polite with me? It's a deal. I'll send you right over. At Zhao Yiqiang's gracious invitation, Li Xian was pulled into his Rolls-Royce. The talent just sat up. Zhao Yiqiang took out a bottle of 82-year-old Lafite red wine from inside the car's small freezer and personally poured a glass for Li Xian. Xian, feel free to have a drink first, and when we get to the hotel later, we'll have a few more drinks. It wasn't hard to see that this Zhao Yiqiang, as Lu Bing's henchman, was still living quite a life, with a subordinate like him following him around. It seemed like his college career in Southern origin was not destined to be too easy. Brother Xian, Mr. Zhao, excuse me for a moment. Round, who was sitting on top of the passenger seat, looked back at the two. Since Brother Xian simply wants to take a bath, how about going directly to our newly opened bathing center? Well, that's a good offer. Zhao Yiqiang busy nodding his head in agreement. He almost forgot. He invested in a bath center only 2 months ago. From the service to the equipment, decoration and other aspects, are the industry's best. He himself often go over to wash. The most important thing is that the special service is inside. Each sister is through layers of screening, body or face, or service. Look at the whole South Source, the absolute top. If Li Xian went over, he could just arrange a few for him. Brother Xian, why don't we just go straight to the bathing center like Yuan said? Forget it, I'm not too fond of crowds. How can it be too much? I'll arrange the imperial private room for you, just you alone. And in terms of bathing alone, it's definitely more comfortable than washing yourself at home. 10 minutes or so later, Li Xian was lured to the water cloud room bath center. Before he came he didn't feel anything, but this will make standing at the gate. Even he can't help but feel that the scale is not too big, right? People's bath centers are only a few floors, holding up a small building. But Zhao Yiqiang's, the scale is comparable to a shopping mall. Even the import and export have several. Hello, Mr. Zhao. At the main entrance of the bath center, the general manager Wang Chen rushed to meet the news. Behind him, there were even a number of people in charge of the bathing center, all of whom shouted in unison. Knowing that they are all management, do not know thought it was the leadership inspection work of the bottom of the staff assembly. Good, what good? Call Brother Xian. Oh no, call young Xian. Hello, Mr. Xian. Nearly 20 people were bending over as they screamed, looking surprised at some of the guests coming in and out as well as passers-by in the distance. Even though Li Xian had already walked in, Wang Chen was still following behind with a group of people in charge. And this scene was just seen by Duan Feiyu and the others who had come to take a shower and were still changing their shoes in the hall. Boy, isn't this Zhao Yiqiang? Why is he here? This is the first time I've seen this big brother of our southern source in person. No, who's that kid walking with him? I'm not sure, but it seems like Wang from the bath center called him Xian Xiao just now. Young Mr. Xian, this is our imperial private room. How is it? Are you still satisfied? Satisfied, yes, but what's up with them? Li Xian pointed at the pool next to the 20 beautiful women that were standing there. He just wanted to simply take a shower. And after that, he had to go find Lin Wan and Duan Yafei. It's not like he came for a girl's ticket. They all accompany the wash. And let whoever you see fit go down with you. Of course, if it's all satisfactory, it's alright to let them all go down. Zhao Yiqiang smiled and rubbed his hands together. This imperial package of baths, not to mention 20 or 30 people, even 40 or 50 people, are completely fine. It's already equivalent to a small swimming pool. Young Master Xian, I'm our gold medal escort cleaner here. So pick me and I won't let you down. In the crowd, a beautiful woman in a white bikini took the initiative to open her mouth and introduce herself. The other party is a standard melon face, medium features, 175 tall body, plus high heels have about 180. The key is also concave and convex. D model headlights call out. The body can be described as excellent. Li Xian felt the fire rising in his mouth a little dry after just a glance. It couldn't be helped. He had only just turned 18. He was at the age of blood and it wasn't surprising that he would have this reaction. And me, young Xian will never regret picking me because I'm moist. Exaggeration. Is the competition that fierce now? Even the self-promotion is so blunt? He even suspected that if Zhao Yiqiang let the word out, the group of escorting beauties in front of him would all pounce on him. No, I have things to do after I wash up. I don't mess with that. Tell you what then, leave these two sisters who just spoke and let them wash it for you. It didn't matter if Li Xian agreed or not. Zhao Yiqiang made a look and these two women he mentioned immediately came to Li Xian's side. And the two women, one on the left and one on the right, directly began to help him take off his clothes. No, I'll just do it myself. Xian Xiao, don't be shy. We'll wash it for you. You don't have to care about anything. Then take your time washing. Young Xian, I'll wait for you outside. Seeing that the two women had already pulled Li Xian into the bath, Zhao Yiqiang immediately took Yuan out. Little king, hey, what are your orders? Mr. Zhao? Wang Chen, who had been guarding the outside, was the first to come over. Remember to give those two sisters some extra bonuses. Don't shortchange them. Don't worry, Mr. Zhao. I understand this kind of small matter. The reason why he gave that explanation was entirely because when he asked Wang Chen to arrange for someone just now, he specifically asked the other party to look for the kind of sister who hadn't yet deeply served the guests. To put it bluntly, all 20 people who were able to stand inside just now are still there for the first time. If it was himself, he wouldn't have to be so particular. But Li Xian was different and had to work on these details. About 2 hours later, a refreshed Li Xian opened the door of the Imperial Bags room and walked out. How long he stayed inside? Zhao Yiqiang and Wang Chen and the others stood outside. How's your wash, Mr. Xian? Yes, it does moisturize. He nodded with satisfaction. The scene from earlier still floating in his mind. Compared to when he was abroad, the experience was more than 1,000,000,000 points better. This stuff, but also in the country I don't know, because his attack just now was too strong, causing the defense of the two gold medal escorts inside to be broken. The screams were too loud, giving the crowd guarding outside a clear hearing. That's nothing, the main thing is that out of 2 hours, at least an hour and a half was spent screaming. One could imagine how amazingly Xian's fighting strength was. So, are we leaving for the hotel? Nah, I've got a date today, so if you do, let's eat some other time. Anyway, it's not like I came to Nanyuan to study at the university for a day or two. There are plenty of opportunities. After patting Zhao Yiqiang's arm, Li Xian walked away by himself. Quickly, Yuan, take my car. Quickly send off Mr. Xian. Yes. Only after watching Li Xian and Yuan enter the elevator did Zhao Yiqiang take out his cell phone and prepare to reply to the Duan family's side. Since he couldn't have dinner with Li Xian, he simply promised the other party that he would attend this charity dinner. Seeing as Li Xian and Duan Yafei were still on good terms. 7 o'clock in the evening. The Hirshhorn Hotel. This is one of the few 5-star hotels in Nanyuan. Although the consumption is not low, but because of its dishes and flavors are widely praised. So all the big families in Nanyuan will choose here whenever they have something to host a banquet. Young Master Xian, is there really no need to walk you to the gate? No, just here. At a location that was still a few dozen meters away from the front door of the hotel, Li Xian directly let the car park. If he went over in this Rolls-Royce, he was afraid that he would attract a lot of attention. 2 minutes later, he appeared at the main entrance of the Xiyun Hotel, and after contacting Duan Yafei, he took the elevator directly up to the 36th floor, the floor where the charity dinner was held. Hey Li Xian, good evening. Good evening, two schoolmates. Just as the elevator doors opened, he managed to rejoin the two women and greeted each other. It's not like in school. Duan Yafei changed into a long black dress and Lin Wan was white. The two women were very eye-catching with one black and one white. When compared to them, Li Xian looked a bit out of place. He's just a white tee with jeans, and they have holes in them from when he was out on a mission and accidentally broke them. Did you forget to change? Before they let Li Xian go back to get ready, is the meaning of changing a set of clothes? Did not expect a few hours back, or the same old thing, went back to prepare a lonely. Might as well come with them at the beginning. No, I just took a shower. Mainly Li Xian didn't know that he was going to come to this kind of dinner. If he had known that it was this kind of occasion, how could he not have changed his clothes? It's okay, if you didn't change it, no one will talk about you. Seemingly feeling that Li Xian was embarrassed, Duan Yufei immediately opened her mouth to solve the problem, while Lin Wan saw the torn holes in the other party's pants and instantly associated it with something. Also realizing that her words weren't quite right, she hurriedly apologized. I'm sorry Li Xian, I'm just asking casually. You shouldn't take it to heart. Why don't I go right back and get a different set? No need to change. It's fine just the way it is. The two women hurriedly pulled him to a stop, then walked straight to a corner of the dinner scene. There, several young men of the same age had already gathered, raising their hands in greeting upon seeing the trio walk past. And in another group of people not far away, Lu Hao, who was having a great conversation with his friends, suddenly swept this way out of the corner of his eye. With that, his gaze gradually became gloomy. 2 hours ago, he received a call from his dad, Lu Qiming, and before he could complain, the other party gave him a scolding, and something about making him apologize to the people he's invoked. As he thought about it, he hadn't messed with anyone, and if he had to say that there was, it would be Li Xian, this kid. But what he couldn't figure out was, where did Li Xian get the ability to make his dad call him personally? To know, his dad Lu Qiming in the South Source is also considered a figure. Can let him are afraid of people, the whole South Source only a few, but no matter how he looked at it, he couldn't tell from Li Xian that he had the potential to do so. Lu Hao, what are you going to donate? The voice of a bystander interrupted his thoughts, but at the same time it gave him inspiration. Today is a charity dinner, where all those in attendance give something of some value to donate in order to raise money to help the cause. And the odds were that Li Xian was only able to come here because of Duan Yafei. If he fanned the flames of a wave, wouldn't this kid die of embarrassment because he couldn't get something to donate? Nanyuan Military Region. In the office of the chief of the Marine Brigade, Wang Yang showed up with the AK-47 he had collected during the day. Reporting to the chief, the gun was indeed confiscated from a student. Are you sure he's just a student? Huang Guoliang looked down at the AK-47 on the table with a slightly heavy expression on his face. One must know that the possession of firearms was forbidden by order within the Dragon Kingdom, and a student would have this. The nature of how bad it was self-evident. It should be. After all, I checked his dossier on the school side. He graduated from the state-run Nanyuan First High School and scored well on the college entrance exams, so there can't be any problems with his identity. So where did he get his gun? Identity was secondary. Huang Guoliang only cared about the gun's provenance. There are only two possibilities as to why the other side would surrender their gun so easily. One is that the other person is really innocent and afraid of spreading the blame, and the other is that the person doesn't even lack the gun. I asked. Said he went to play on the army where his uncle is. Before leaving, gave him the model. Should be accidentally give the wrong. Accidentally take the wrong one? The muscles in the corner of Huang Guoliang's eyes twitched slightly. How can you go wrong with this thing? Models and real guns. These two are still a lot different except maybe the same in terms of weight. Okay. Besides, this AK-47 was not the type of gun that their Dragon Kingdom's land combat troops were equipped with. Did he say what his uncle's name was or what unit he was in? He didn't say anything about that. Said he wanted to keep it a secret for his uncle. Bull asterisk. And secrecy. I think he's just making it up. And I don't know how you believe him. Do you realize that you're probably sparing a dangerous man? One screw up and it's likely to jeopardize the lives and safety of other citizens. Wang Yang was a little scared. By Huang Guoliang saying that, he recalled that Li Xian's kid's physical quality seemed to be very good, completely hanging on to the other students. By the way chief, that student also traveled to the school in a Musuden. A ride in a Wookiee? For simple words made Huang Guoliang, who was a little red warm, immediately calmed down. If an AK-47 could make him suspect someone of being dangerous, the fact that he could ride in an armed forces straight could likewise tell him something. Like the gun ban, helicopters are required to apply in advance to report their routes for flights in urban areas, and very few people own helicopters, let alone armed helicopters, which are only used by the official sector. If you look at it that way, it seems possible that the other side has an uncle with a special status. At that thought, he immediately picked up the phone on his desk. This is Huang Guoliang. Inquire immediately. This morning, which troops armed straight went to Nanyuan University? With his authority, it couldn't be easier to look into such attendance records. After waiting patiently for 2 minutes, however, he was a bit dumbfounded. What? Classified information that even I'm not authorized to know? He was utterly confused. Things that even he had no right to know. Then it seemed that the other uncle's rank in the official hierarchy was much higher than his. Chief, then this gun. Because there were only the two of them inside the room, it was very quiet, so Wang Yang also heard what was said on the other end of the phone. The facts proved that the other Li Xian was a person of status and background. People's uncle to give him a whole gun. I guess it is not hot yet. He was confiscated, which if you go back to complain, not to mention him, I'm afraid that the head of this cannot stay out of it. What's wrong with the gun? Hurry up and send this gun back for someone. Ha! This time it was Wang Yang's turn to be dumbfounded. He had tried to think of other solutions, but he hadn't really dared to think of a situation like sending the gun back unopened. Boy, this is the real thing. And if the other guy accidentally hurts someone, the repercussions will be huge. Ah, what the hell? I asked you to give the gun back to the person. What's the problem? Huang Guoliang seriously thought about it. Anyway, the gun is not given by him. Really want to make something happen. He can also completely put the blame on the other party's head of that uncle, and has nothing to do with him. What about bullets? Why don't we unload it and send an empty gun back? Wang Yang picked up his gun and tried to unload the AK-47's magazine in front of Huang Guoliang. Don't move. You can't move a single bullet. You need to understand what it means to stay put. That's how this gun came to be, and that's how you're going to send it back to me. Yes. Nodding his head with force, Wang Yang dismissed the idea of unloading the bullet. Anyway, it was the order of this chief, and the responsibility for what really happened was not his. Then I'll bring it to school first thing in the morning and give it back to him. No, you find out where the other guy is right now, and get it to someone tonight. Tonight? Wang Yang glanced out the window at the dark end of the sky, and then urgent is not so urgent. Right? Right. Now. Immediately. Now. Roger that. When the other party walked out of the office holding the AK-47, Huang Guoliang once again picked up the landline phone on his desk. Look up someone for me. His name is Li Xian, a freshman at Nanyuan University. The Hirshhorn Hotel. The Duan family's charity dinner is underway. After some introductions from both Duan Yufei and Lin Wan, he had made a few new friends. To be precise, he had made new acquaintances with a few rich young masters and young ladies from South Source. And the other side through the mouth of Duan Yufei also learned about him and Lu Hao. And one by one, they all made a righteous statement. Don't worry Li Xian. If that kid Lu Hao dares to come to trouble you, just give me a call and I'll take care of it for you. That's right. It's fine for Lu Hao to play a trick in front of others. But how about you let him try playing one in front of us? It wasn't hard to hear that a few people didn't take Lu Hao too seriously. Speaking of Lu Hao, look over there. Someone pointed to the crowd not far away, and looking along, they happened to see Lu Hao. To their surprise, the other party was similarly looking at them and even took the initiative to walk over. Lu Hao, what do you want? We know all about you and Li Xian. Don't try to trouble them in front of us. Several people blocked in front of Li Xian, unanimously. And this feeling of being protected touched Li Xian greatly. It had to be said that Duan Yufei's group of friends were still quite righteous. Don't get so excited guys. I just came by to say hi. Behind Lu Hao, there were several other people. They were all called by Lu Hao to see the fun. After all, fanning the flames can't be done by him alone. It needs the help of others to be justified. Forget it. None of us here want to say hello to you. Duan Yufei waved his hand, with a great sense of expelling flies. It's okay if you don't say hello. As a senior, I just wanted to give this freshman student a heads up. This is a charity dinner, and if he's not prepared to donate something, he'd better get the hell out of here. Hearing that someone wasn't prepared to donate something made the other guests around the room cast their eyes over. Are you kidding me? How is it nice to come to a charity dinner and not be prepared to donate? In a flash, there were no less than 30 lines of sight that landed on Li Xian. Oh yeah, and let me remind you again, as has been the practice before, no one donates anything worth less than 6 figures. Lu Hao, what do you mean? Can't you show up without donating something? Besides, This is a charity dinner hosted by my Duan family. It's up to my family to decide who to invite. What does it have to do with you? Duan Yufei's fire instantly came up. The other party's words seemed to be targeting Li Xian, but in her ears, there was inexplicably a feeling of clamor. As a member of the organizer's family, it's not necessary to use Lu Hao if you really want to talk about anyone. The key was that Li Xian was still invited by her, so she couldn't let Li Xian be bullied in front of her. It's not just about me, it's about everyone in the room. As the eldest miss of the Duan family, you wouldn't even know what a charity dinner is called, would you? Lu Hao spoke without haste as everything was going according to what he had planned. You know, so tell me. Duan Yufei was also exasperated. A charity dinner is a charity dinner. What else is there to say? She didn't even bother to break up with this psycho. As we all know, the charity dinner is a special appreciation banquet set up to thank all those who donate money and goods without compensation. And him, coming here empty-handed. What right does he have to sit here and eat with us? Not even if he's your friend. You have to respect all the people in the room who donate money and goods for free. If you do that, you'll only make everyone feel unworthy, and it'll send a chill down everyone's spine. Although the others didn't say anything, one by one, they showed that it was obvious that they were on Lu Hao's side. In itself, there is nothing to bring friends to have a meal, but the key to today's special occasion. Other people also, even if she Duan Yufei as the organizer, but also do that. It is a bit unreasonable. Senior Li Xian, if I were you, I would have gotten out of here a long time ago. Your insistence on staying here will only make things difficult for her. Understand? After saying a bunch of things, he finally found a chance to poke his spear at Li Xian. Unsurprisingly, the kid could only leave the field in the dust under this pressure. When the time came for him to post the video again, I don't believe that he still has the face to continue to stay inside the school. After all is said and done, don't you just want Li Xian to donate something? I'll help him out with something. Won't that be enough? Originally, Lin Wan didn't want to take care of the other party, but when she saw that there were more and more people gathering around her, she was afraid that Li Xian really couldn't withstand this pressure and leave, so she still stood out. Something worth 6 figures was not a difficult task for her, as her family's condition was only stronger than Duan Yufei's, and she could afford to pay it back. Yes, 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 Li Xian's share, we'll all pay him out together. That's always fine, right? The newly recognized friends have also opened their mouths to agree. One person shelled out a few tens of thousands. To make up 6 figures is just a matter of minutes. Fine, as long as you guys are willing and he, Li Xian, is able to accept it on his own. I naturally don't have any opinions. He had expected this to happen, so he wasn't surprised. But Li Xian, you're at least a man. You don't just know how to hide behind others, do you? And still hiding behind a woman. The words were all mocking Li Xian, but the current situation was such that there was no room for defense. Even the onlookers saw nothing wrong with what he said. In their place, they would have left long ago. Li Xian, don't bother with him. This guy is just a psycho. Yeah bro, just pretend he's farting. We'll help you out if you want to donate something, and you'll just sit here in peace today. While the crowd was still relieving him, Li Xian, who had remained silent, slowly raised his hand. Well guys, I appreciate all of you siding with me so much, but people are obviously coming at me, and I can't make things difficult for senior sister Duan. It's just a donation. Make it sound like someone who can't afford it. It wasn't funny to think that his hallowed Xuan was being questioned about not being able to afford to give away something worth 6 figures. He casually take a small order or millions of dollars. A few 100,000 is nothing. It was fine if he didn't say anything, but when he did, it gave Lu Hao a chance to attack. Talking with your mouth will do anyone. So show me the stuff. Before coming over, he had already gotten someone to confirm that this Li Xian's family background was very average, not to mention donating hundreds of thousands of things at once. Even tens of thousands would be impossible to do. And the fact that the other didn't bring anything with him when he arrived greatly increased the idea that he wanted to target the other. Wait, I'll make a call. Ignoring the crowd, Li Xian took out his cell phone and walked off to the side alone. Ha, posturing. Without the help of Fifi and the girls, you kids are nothing, to Lu Hao and the others. He just didn't want to be heard with the humiliating sound of him asking for help from people outside the field. I don't know. He walked away because he had to call Lu Bing through a special encrypted method and was afraid of being seen by others. And among the guests on the scene of the charity dinner, there were the same people that Lu Bing had planted. So before Li Xian could get through to her, she contacted Zhao Yiqiang at the first opportunity. Hey, Ice, what's up? What? Brother Xian was targeted at the charity dinner? Who had the audacity to do that? That asshole kid Lu Hao again. Don't worry, I will definitely give you and Brother Xian a satisfactory outcome in this matter. Hanging up, he glanced at round. Where did you send Mr. Xian just now? Hotel Iguain. In an instant, It dawned on him that what Li Xian had said about having an appointment with someone was that he had been invited to a charity dinner by Duan Yafei. What's wrong, Mr. Zhao? Is something wrong? Are all the donations I asked you to prepare ready? It's all in the trunk. One authentic Qi Baishiring shrimp painting worth $7.65 million. And a 3-legged bronze tripod worth $12.62 million. These things were worth a lot of money, but for Zhao Yiqiang, they were all just thin gifts, 2 randomly selected pieces from inside his collection. Good. When we arrive at the charity dinner site later, all of these things will be donated in young Xian's name. Ha! Young Master Xian is also at the charity dinner? That's right, and because Xian Xiao didn't prepare a donation, he's being targeted by that bastard from the Lu family. Li Xian was personally sent over by Yuan, but she didn't think about the charity dinner at all. If she had known earlier, she would have definitely gone to prepare for Li Xian in the first place. It's not as if there's such a thing as being targeted. In this case, it was her negligence. In the meantime, at the front door of the Yiguayin Hotel, a car with military license plates is parked here. Wang Yang got out of the car, followed by a few uniformed Marines. In his hand, he also cradled the AK-47 in a box. According to the clues provided by the intelligence officers, Li Xian was inside the Heryun Hotel at this moment. To be honest, if he didn't have orders, he really didn't want to return the gun on this occasion. But there's no way. As a soldier, military orders are like mountains, and he'll do whatever the leader tells him to do. Go, follow me up. Watch my eyes later. I say, Senior Li Xian, are you better or not? The charity dinner has already begun. If you can't come up with something to donate, you'd better get the hell out of here. But don't delay everyone's meal. 2 minutes after Li Xian walked away, Lu Hao couldn't wait to speak, because apart from their side, most of the people in the other areas had already finished taking their seats, and at this moment, they were all staring at this side as if they were eating melons. This couldn't help but make Duan Yafei and Lin Wan blame themselves immensely in their hearts. It was all because they had caused Li Xian to make a fool of himself in front of so many people. I think he should be embarrassed at this moment, and even can't wait to escape from here. Enough, Lu Hao. Aren't you just harboring a grudge against Li Xian and deliberately targeting him? But I ask you if you can keep your nose out of this situation? I messed up? Lu Hao instantly exploded, raising his hand and pointing at himself as if he had heard something extraordinary. You bring someone who has nothing to do with the charity dinner over to rub it in and have no respect for the occasion. Who the hell is running amok? It wasn't just Li Xian. This time he even said Duan Yafei in as well, causing quite a few people to subconsciously look at the table where the elders of the Duan family were sitting. Old Duan, what the hell is this girl Fifi up to? Even if you brought your friends over privately, why did you mess with that Lu Hao kid? I'm not really sure about that one. Duan Pengfei shook his head and had a deep headache for this daughter of his. She didn't know to talk to herself ahead of time about this kind of thing, or she could have just avoided it a little bit on her own. The time to get the charity dinner going has now come and gone, but everyone's attention is so focused on the farce that the proper business of charitable giving can't move forward. Old Lu, why don't you give your son a word to stop? The people at the same table all put their eyes on Lu Qiming. If this goes on, when exactly will the charity dinner begin? Old Duan, young people are more active than middle-aged people like us. Besides, I think Lu Hao is right. The people who can come here today are all the dignitaries of our southern source. That kid is a raw face at first glance, so he must be from an unusual family. But if he can also come up with something to donate, it wouldn't be wrong to let him stay for dinner. After all, we're having a charity dinner. Everything is fine if he can donate something. Let who also did not expect is that the table of Lu Qiming not only do not want to discipline their own son's meaning, and even in turn stand in his son Lu Hao's side to them to say these reasons. I don't think there's anything wrong with what old Lu said. What kind of people does your family Fei Fei know? Look at the poor look he's wearing. I don't know where he got the courage to step into this kind of occasion. If you ask me, just have someone blow him out and get it over with. Or when the hell are we going to start the charity dinner? The people at their table could all be considered number one in southern origin, and their respective families were also well known, second only to the Zhao family. So even Duan Pengfei wasn't good at being too toward his daughter. And Lao Duan, not that I'm talking about you. If brother Zhao comes later and sees the scene like this, how disappointed will he be? When they heard the word Zhao, everyone in the room had a serious look on their faces. They might all be able to become the number one person in South Source, but this brother Zhao, Zhao Yiqiang, was an existence that could be called the Lord of South Source. The other party not only had a business empire in South Source, but even had connections in all walks of life. Compared to him, all of them here were trash, holding up only enough to carry someone's shoes. All the time, they are always trying to find ways to please each other, but they are not in the mood to take them to have fun. In a bad mood, trying to bring down their family was just a matter of a few words from people. Old Duan, counting the time. Zhao is probably arriving soon, so hurry up and step in to settle things. But don't delay everyone's business later. The charity dinner was just the surface. Their real purpose was actually to take this opportunity to flatter Zhao Yixiang again, wanting to get a piece of the pie from the other party, especially the Duan family. He can too much need someone else to help out. If he misses this opportunity, then his Duan family will be finished. Originally, a few days ago, he sent an invitation to Zhao Yixiang, and the other party never replied to him, so he didn't even have any expectations and was ready to accept reality. But just half an hour ago, he received a reply from the other party that he would be attending the charity dinner tonight, which made him happy. Considering the words in this regard, he also had to make an example. Xiao Chen, why don't you ask Fifi to take that friend of hers out? No, get him a private room and a separate table. He knew his daughter's temperament, and he was sure to make a scene when he kicked out the friend she brought with her. So the aftermath of kicking them out had to be done. Yes, master. Butler Chen, who stood beside him at the sound of the voice, walked over with large strides. Miss, the master asked you to. Duan Yafei, who was angrily disliking Lu Hao, suddenly paused, and after listening to Butler Chen's words, she turned around violently and looked at her own dad with an unbelievable face. The other party was similarly looking at her, and even nodded gently, signaling her to do what Butler Chen said. And Butler Chen even walked over to Li Xian's side without her consent. I'm sorry, this student, but for various reasons, it's better if you leave this place. If you wish to eat, our master has had a table rearranged for you in a private room at the hotel. Uncle Chen, Duan Yafei was confused. The other party had directly spared her to drive Li Xian away? Shame on you. It's really a shame. In his place, he would have hated to find a crack in the ground. What's more, Li Xian was still a boy, and in front of so many people, he was only afraid that his self-esteem would have been shattered to pieces. I think you're mistaken. It doesn't matter if you eat or not. I simply came over for the appointment simply because of the invitation from the two senior sisters. Since I'm not welcome here, I'll just leave. Just as she expected, Li Xian obviously couldn't take it anymore and wanted to quickly leave from here. At this moment, no matter if it was Duan Yafei or Lin Wan, both women's moods were filled with guilt. On the contrary, Lu Hao was wearing a smile on his face and was close to writing the word Schadenfreude on his face. But it's better to come early than late. And since it's a charity dinner, I'd better donate more or less before I leave. He had already made the call, and all he needed to do was to wait patiently for the people arranged by Lu Bing to bring the things over to him, not because of Lu Hao's mockery, but simply because he wanted to contribute to charity. Donate something? What are you donating with? If you ask me, why don't I take the lead and get someone to donate a few sets of clothes for you first before we talk about it? Ha ha ha. Many people around him were amused by his words. It couldn't be helped. Who made Li Xian's dress so ordinary? Not at all like he could donate anything. Squeak. But just then, the door to the dinner scene was pushed open. Only a few soldiers wearing special uniforms walked in. While seeing the leader, Li Xian couldn't help but frown. The visitor was actually the instructor of the daytime military training. Wang Yang. Instructor Wang. What brings you here? I'm here on orders from my leader to deliver something to you. Glancing at the box held in the other party's hand, Li Xian couldn't help but freeze. Give something away? Could it be that Wang Yang, the instructor, is also Lu Bing's man? On second thought, this seems to be really like Lu Bing's style. She does something that is always so unexpected. Because this thing is special. I got a box to help you put it in. Here. Walking closer, Wang Yang handed over the box containing the AK-47 with both hands. However, Li Xian waved his hand indifferently and said, no need to show me. Just donate it. Wang Yang, what? Wang Yang froze. These Marines who came with him froze as well. That's an AK-47 in that box. It's a gun. What does it mean to donate directly? Even though they had learned before they arrived that there was a charity dinner going on here. Wasn't it a little too random to donate something like a gun? No, Li San. Are you sure you want to donate this thing? They had heard of donations of money and materials and even donations of artifacts and paintings, but it was the first time they had ever encountered donations of guns. Moreover, it was fine for this thing to be in Li Xian's hands. That mysterious military uncle on the other side dared to give him the gun, so he believed that he shouldn't use it to do bad things. But if it fell into someone else's hands, it was impossible to say. Donate it in the name of doing charity. The charity will sell it afterwards, and it's anyone's guess who it will end up in. Isn't this thing just for donations? The expressions of the crowd in turn confused Li Xian. I called Lu Bing myself to ask her to help arrange for something to be donated, and this was delivered. So what's the point of keeping it if you're not going to donate it? Do you really want to donate? Wang Yang was hesitant as he held the box containing the AK-47. There were so many people present. If they really donated it, wouldn't it cause a sensation? If you are told to donate, you donate. Why are you so abrasive? He contacted before and after the Lu Bing subordinates also have a lot. But there has never been a person like Wang Yang this kind of abrasive. Almost what he said is what? Just like Zhao Yiqiang during the day. People are that kind of identity. In front of their own, not also respectfully? Well, nodding helplessly, Wang Yang could only turn to one side and said to the staff wearing the uniform of the charity association, although this thing is donated, I hope you will only view it for viewing and never use it, or else you will be responsible for the consequences. I said, are you out of your mind? It's still viewing, and everything donated is sold afterward for charitable funds. Besides, it's been donated, so what to do with it is the charity association's business. None of your business. Even though Wang Yang was wearing an army uniform, Lu Hao still didn't give him face. In his eyes, Wang Yang, who had been arranged to come to the school for the freshmen's military training, was, at best, just a bottom-tier big-head soldier in the army. With a status like the other party, his dad only needed to make a phone call to his connections over in the military region, and he'd be able to take him down in minutes. All in all, you'd better keep what I've said in mind, or it will be too late to regret it. Taking a deep breath, Wang Yang let his emotions calm down a bit as much as possible. As a soldier, he couldn't do anything at will. Said like it was true. And I wonder what you've got inside this box that's worth a few bucks. Why don't we open it on the spot for everyone to see what our friend, who was invited by Miss Duan, has donated for charity? As soon as he heard that the other party wanted to open the box and inspect it, Wang Yang was instantly displeased. No, I can't show you. It would be fine to show it to Li Xian alone. After all, the gun was someone else's. Even if it was just donated and the organizers could check it privately. After all, only a very few people knew that the box was a gun inside. But if it was displayed to so many people on such an occasion, wouldn't it be completely impossible to hide the fact that Li Xian had donated a gun? No show? You're afraid you're not here to be funny. What's it like to donate something and not make it public? Is it hard to break the rules? The more the other party did, the more Lu Hao was sure that there was a ghost inside the box. Mostly it's something worthless, or a fake or some such contraption. So they're afraid of being exposed to so many people. He had to be high and low today to make the other party open the box, so that Li Xian would continue to be humiliated. Instructor Wang, why don't you just open the box and show him if he wants to see it? Just when Wang Yang wanted to refuse again, Li Xian opened his mouth. Is there a mistake? You want to show this gun to someone? It's too late for him to help avoid suspicion here, but Li Xian is so good that he actually agrees? He could even imagine how the crowd would react after seeing that the box contained an AK-47 later on. Li, it's better not to open it. What? Weren't you going to open it for me just now? Why don't you open it now? Such abnormal behavior. To Li Xian see again frowned. Lu Bing this time arranged underlings how all the anti-bonnet? You don't donate anything when you're told to. You don't open the box when you're told to. And you're honestly working against yourself? Just now I just wanted you to check it out by yourself too. I didn't think about letting the others watch it together. Wang Yang wanted to cry. Is this gun something that can be shown to others casually? It wasn't really appropriate to take it out, at least on this occasion. Is there any difference between me watching it alone and them watching it together? Li Xian was equally confused. What was the big deal about looking at something that was used to donate? No, classmate Li, what's in this box? Right, you should know it well. It's rather special. Special? What's special? It's a donation anyway. Can you not be so petty? With that, Li Xian took the initiative to reach over, wanting to open the box himself. Frightened, Wang Yang hurriedly took 2 steps back. Behind him the 4 Marines who had come up with him hurriedly stepped in front of him. What? Do I have to have Lu Bing call you personally before you'll open it? The scene was a bit awkward for a while. Obviously, he had come to deliver something to himself, but he was fighting against himself at every turn. This is to be placed in foreign countries. The other party does not know already died a few times, when it is really to give him face. Willow Ice? Who is Lu Bing? However, Wang Yang was very unfamiliar with Lu Bing's name, causing Li Xian, who was already a bit angry, to suddenly come to his senses. You don't know Lu Bing? Not recognizable. Nice guy. Very dry answer. None of it was sandwiched by a hint of hesitation. Could it be that he was mistaken? Wang Yang is not actually the person Lu Bing arranged? And what was the other guy saying about bringing something over for himself? Instructor Wang, since Lu Bing didn't ask you to come, what do you mean by holding a box to me? Returning things to their rightful owners. Of course. It's just that I didn't expect you to be so casual about it, Li, that you'd donate this stuff as soon as you said you would, and even try to open the box to show it to others. By now, Wang Yang also figured out that he was just an errand boy, only responsible for sending the gun back to Li Xian according to the order. As for other things, it shouldn't be up to him to think about them. So what people say and what he does is fine. Forget it, you can open it if you want. It's yours anyway, you decide what to do with it. After signaling a few Marines to stand down, he was ready to open the box as Li Xian had requested. No, don't open it. Reacting, Li Xian finally realized what was inside the box. The other party had just mentioned returning things to their rightful owners, so the odds were that it was the AK-47 assault rifle he had confiscated during the day. In an instant, he understood. He understands everything. It was himself who had made a mistake, mistaking Wang Yang for Lu Bing's henchman, and also mistaking the contents of the box for a donation. However, it was too late. Almost the instant his words had only been uttered, Wang Yang had already opened the box. A black and yellow colored AK-47 was presented to the crowd like this, because Lu Hao was targeting Li Xian. Quite a few people were quiet and watching the show, so much so that the dinner scene was relatively quiet and only a few people could be heard talking. But now, as Wang Yang opened the box containing the AK-47, the large dinner scene was so terribly quiet that even the breathing of the people beside him could be clearly heard. A gun? This box contains a gun? For a moment, everyone's head was spinning. Who's a good guy donating something to donate a gun? Pretty good at this, getting a model to scare anyone. Lu Hao didn't believe in this stuff. This is the Dragon Kingdom. Guns and those are expressly forbidden. Even if this Wang Yang is from the army, he has no right to bring real guns here. Of course, there is also the most important point. The AK-47 is not a weapon fitted by the military of the Dragon Kingdom, so a glance is fake. Hearing him say that, the others then reacted with some realization. So it's a model gun. That scared me. I really thought it was a real gun. I got goosebumps. It's really not like that. What kind of people? This kind of nonsense. What on earth do you take the charity dinner for? Other than Lin Wan and Duan Yefei and the few people who knew about it, Wang Yang, everyone else almost thought the same as Lu Hao. Ah yes, model. It's a model gun. What Lu Hao never expected was that Li Xian took the initiative to cooperate with him. It shouldn't this kid be able to weasel his way out of it or something? So easily confessed? Frowning, Lu Hao took 3 steps and came close to Wang Yang, afraid that the other party would realize that it was a real gun. Looking at Li Xian, he subconsciously wanted to walk over to stop it, but just after taking 2 steps, he realized that Lu Hao didn't mean to reach out and touch it, making his idea of making a move to stop him temporarily stop. Lu Hao took a closer look at this AK-47 in the box. In fact, he still has some research on this aspect of the model. Just look at the appearance. This gun model exquisite workmanship, details of the paint surface and other aspects are very resistant to fight. In the gun model also belongs to the level of collector's items. Such a discovery made him raise his eyebrows as if he had discovered some great secret. To Li Xian's heart all looked momentarily clenched. Winky face. It's over. It's been discovered that it's a real gun. He seemed to be taking casual steps, but he was actually getting a little bit closer to Lu Hao. But whenever the other party dared to utter a word that had anything to do with real guns, he would be the first to strike and knock them out. However, Lu Hao was oblivious to him, staring at the AK-47 acting sometimes surprised, sometimes shaking his head. One had to admit that as an ordinary person, and a student at that, it wasn't easy for Li Xian to be able to come up with this kind of thing to donate. The price point for a gun mold of this quality tends to be in the big few thousand to small 10,000 range. If there hadn't been any bad blood between the two, he or she would have certainly praised the other for this move. It was just a pity that the beam had already been formed and he was going to target Li Xian to death. I thought it was something, but it turned out to be just a gun model that was only worth a few $1,000s. It seems like you don't pay much attention to public service either. Senior Li Xian, doing public welfare? Do not care how much, only care about the heart. As long as there is this heart, donate more or less can be. Li Xian, who didn't want to expose that this was a real gun, was still cooperating with Lu Hao. But the more he did so, the more Lu Hao felt strange inside. Is this guy really not trying to argue at all? Are you really willing to be degraded like that? That's not a good thing to say, even though it's also a public service. Please don't compare it to tonight's charity dinner. Senior brother Li Xian, that's just ordinary people you're talking about. But everyone here today is not ordinary. Casually find one at the scene. All are our south source of dignified people. Everyone casually donates, some are worth at least 6 figures. Do you really think you donate this gun mold is appropriate? Patrolling the scene in a circle, the vast majority of people nodded along in agreement. It's a good idea to donate a few $1,000s to something that's going to make them fall off the face of the earth. Inappropriate. Very inappropriate. Li Xian shook his head vigorously and said, that's why I decided not to donate it. Since Wang Yang was not the person arranged by Lu Bing, it meant that the person arranged by Lu Bing was still on the way, so he only needed to wait a little while for the other party to bring the things that were actually used for donation. No donation? Lu Hao thought a little and instantly disassembled Li Xian's meaning. I'm afraid that the other party was regretting it and felt that he would be humiliated either way, so it would be better not to donate and lose one less gun model. After all, with Li Xian's status as an ordinary person, it wouldn't be easy to save up money to buy this gun model. Stop loss in time. Right, that must be it. Thinking about this, the corners of his mouth lifted up in a curve, feeling that he was just too smart. He wasn't going to let Li Xian get what he wanted, but then again, it's really rare for student Li Xian to have the heart to donate a gun model. I think the charity association deserves to receive it, and we can't let down student Li Xian's good intentions. No, there's nothing to donate to this kind of thing, so let's just forget it. He guessed right. Previously, Li Xian had been so cooperative with him, but now he was starting to go against himself. Wasn't this just starting to get anxious after being told off by himself? How can you forget it? It just so happens that everyone donates all the time. They're all a little tired of looking at the literature and paintings. You donating a gun model today would be just the thing to set a precedent and let people know there are other things to donate. With that, he reached out and took out the AK-47 inside the box when everyone wasn't looking. He had also played around with model guns, so he had a mental expectation of how heavy the gun would be, and that he wouldn't be unable to hold it. Put it down. Li Xian and Wang Yang spoke in unison. Lu Hao took the gun out. His right-hand index finger was already in the trigger position in a smooth manner, and the muzzle of the gun was even pointed right at the person. Both eyes swept to the gun safety at the same time and realized it was actually still on. One was surprised, the other regretful. Li Xian was surprised why the gun safety was on. Wang Yang, on the other hand, regretted why he had left the safety on. All because of what Huang Guoliang said, return it as is. So much so that he restored the gun's safety to the way it was when he confiscated it from Li Xian. What are you nervous about? It's not going to break for you. Even if it's really broken, it's not worth much, so can't I just pay you for it? Compared to the nervous two, Lu Hao was holding up his firearm and aiming casually, and the person who was pointed at by him with the gun actually did not have any feeling. Instead, he also followed with a smile and said, Lu Hao, this gun looks good. Wait and also give me a touch it. Can he disassemble this gun? It should work. Lu Hao observed the gun body and answered the crowd's questions seriously. Did you use PP or rubber bullets? Is the trigger on this gun decorative? What about you pulling it? Under the coaxing of the crowd, Lu Hao didn't aim either, and while checking the gun, his fingers subconsciously pulled the trigger. Bang, bang, bang. Several rounds went off in quick succession, and the powerful recoil caused the unsuspecting man to raise the muzzle of his gun all the way up toward the ceiling. Lu Hao, others, Sigma, degree winky face. The moment the gunshots rang out, apart from Li Xian, even Wang Yang and the few Marines subconsciously crouched down and dodged just like the others, fearing that they would be hit by the random bullets. What was feared happened after all. Was it a misfire? No, it's the kid's hands that have to go for the trigger. This is a real gun? Lu Hao, incomparably shocked at the scene in front of him, opposite him, just now also stood smiling and talked to him. At this moment, even directly shot down on the ground? Hu Wei, what are you pretending to be? I don't think I hit you, right? Despite the fact that he was already panicking inside, he still had a glimmer of hope and forced himself to ask out. Unfortunately, the collapsed Hu Wei couldn't answer his question at all, and could only keep writhing his body on the ground, his hand even covering the position of his stomach. The people around them didn't react for a while and could only watch from afar. It wasn't until the other party's clothes were gradually drenched in red blood that they reacted to the fact that Hu Wei was truly injured. Quick, call an ambulance. The bold ones quickly rushed over, but it was the first time they had encountered such a situation in real life, and they didn't know how to perform first aid measures. Is there any gauze? Get some gauze. The professionally trained Wang Yang and a few others rushed forward. As active duty soldiers of the Dragon Kingdom, they could know all too well how to give first aid after someone had been shot. Thanks to the fact that this is a 5-star hotel, things like first aid kits are still prepared, so someone will soon bring over the gauze. Bear. In front of everyone, Wang Yang violently ripped Hu Wei's t-shirt open, revealing the wounds inside. It looks to be the size of a finger. Is this the bullet hole? Duan Yafei and Lin Wan were frowning at the same time, and subconsciously spoke out to inquire. How could so much blood come out of such a small wound? You guys don't look at a small hole on the outside, but there's actually a large area of injury on the inside. If you're going to the hospital, it's best to stuff gauze inside and plug the surface of the wound with something sealed to stop the bleeding. The two women along with some of the people close by couldn't help but turn their heads to look at Li Xian. How do you know? What's wrong with that? I've just seen more of it abroad. Shrugging his shoulders, Li Xian couldn't help but think back to the very beginning when he started his business abroad. At that time, he had only just come into contact with the mercenary industry, It was inevitable that he wouldn't get injured. He almost always dealt with it himself, and even at the back, some of the newcomers he brought along would also have injuries, and over time, all of this had become a must-have skill for every single person in the mercenary squad. It's just that now that everyone's strength has risen, there are very few injuries anymore. As he gradually began to adapt to the various abilities given by the system, he himself even set a record of more than 1,000 consecutive injury-free missions, in a variety of large and small battlefield environments 7x7, come and go as they please, and the achievement of the King of Mercenaries, the name of the international shock. Because there was no anesthetic, the shot Hu Wei screamed out in pain. Just hold on a little while I stop the bleeding and wait for the ambulance to arrive. Wang Yang stuffed gauze while comforting each other. Beside the Marines even pulled 2 tablecloths. Want to make a simple stretcher. Hu Wei to the hotel downstairs, so that the ambulance arrived. We'll be able to get the first time more professional treatment. Don't you move him. He was shot in the small of the back and is forbidden to move to avoid secondary damage. Li Xian's voice caused their movements to freeze in place, and a few of them subconsciously looked at Wang Yang as if asking for his opinion. But at this moment Wang Yang is also a little confused. Do not hurry to get the person down to wait for the ambulance. Do you have to wait here for the doctor to come up? When the time comes, don't we also have to find a way to get the person down? Are you a doctor? You just scream here? But don't disturb people saving Hu Wei. Lu Hao's body was trembling because he was afraid that Hu Wei would just GA, and then he would be in big trouble. That's why he wanted Hu Wei to survive more than anyone else present. When he saw Wang Yang and a few Marines start the rescue of Hu Wei, his heart was more or less comforted, but he didn't expect this Li Xian to be pointing at the side, making it look like he knew what was finished. Not only him, quite a few people at the scene felt that Li Xian's words were a bit too much. If you know so much, then why don't you help? Standing around. I've seen a lot of people like you. Hey, it's no wonder. After all, it's not like you're responsible for talking. It's understandable. Funny, why should I help? In the face of the accusations of the crowd, Li Xian is not spoiled at all. This Hu Wei previously stood behind Lu Hao and sang along, and now that he was shot, to put it bluntly, he deserved it. Why should he save him? Of course, it wasn't that Li Xian couldn't do it. If he had stepped in, he could have even made the ambulance drive slower on the road, because he could have just operated on the scene to take the bullet out of Hu Wei. Now it's just simply a matter of not wanting to save it. This gun is yours, and you can't shirk your responsibility if something happens to Hu Wei. Suddenly, Lu Hao reminded him with a sentence. It's true that the gun was fired by Lu Hao, but in the final analysis, this stuff is flowing out of his place. So in terms of responsibility, it's not really possible to hide. Glancing at Hu Wei, whose movement gradually went down, he knew that the other party was losing too much blood and was about to enter a state of shock. Relying solely on Wang Yang's means of stopping the bleeding could not wait for the ambulance to come, and he had to be rescued more professionally at once before he could be treated. Li Xian, if you really have the ability, save Hu Wei, even though Wan and I both hate him, but like I said earlier, today's charity dinner is hosted by my Duan family, and I'm afraid that my Duan family will be in trouble if something happens to him. Duan Yufei's pleading voice came from beside her ears. If today wasn't a charity dinner hosted by her Duan family, she wouldn't care about this Hu Wei guy's death or life. He clenched his fists and glanced at Lu Hao, who was not far away, not really willing. Senior Li Xian, just help Fifi. I believe you can. For some reason, Lin Wan inexplicably felt that Li Xian was truly capable of saving Hu Wei. Perhaps it was what the other party had said before, or perhaps it was the calmness he had shown from the beginning to the end of his life, not being surprised by changes, not only for the sake of Duan Yafei, but also for the sake of Li Xian not getting into trouble. If Hu Wei died, both the Duan family and him would be held accountable by the Hu family. Although the Hu family has a comparable status to the Duan family in South Source, it is only a branch of the family, and if they really want to make a scene, the Duan family may not be a rival to them. If Hu Wei was fine, even if the other party had the intention to retaliate, her side would be able to ask for help from the Lin family she was in and bail the two out. Never mind. For the sake of you two, I'll save him for once. After saying that, Li Xian moved his wrist and rushed at Wang Yang and the others. All of you get out of the way. I'll operate. Hey, 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 hey. I just said that off the top of my head, so don't mess with me. Seeing Li Xian seriously approaching Hu Wei, Lu Hao was dumbfounded. Other people Hu Wei had a ray of hope, but the result was that he got directly GA can be how to deal with. Although in that case, he was able to bite back that it was the other party that killed Hu Wei, but the relationship between the two, if there was a choice, he did not want Hu Wei to die. Don't let him bother me. Ignoring Lu Hao, after Li Xian said these words, a person came out from inside the crowd and forcefully pulled Lu Hao to a stop. These were the henchmen that Lu Bing had planted beside him. and he had heard the other party mention it when they had contacted him before. Get me a 0.5 mg size of epinephrine. Get the tweezers, needle and thread, and tourniquet ready. Yes. The moment he finished speaking, two people came out from inside the crowd and handed Li Xian what he needed respectively. As a member of a mercenary corps, carrying these things with you is the same as carrying half a life. And often, many times, injuries are likely to crunch away if they are not treated in time. In front of everyone, Li Xian picked up the adrenaline and took an intramuscular injection to push in the adrenaline to Hu Wei, who was about to go into shock. Every action is like a textbook that professional. See, even Wang Yang, these trained active duty soldiers, cannot help but feel in the heart. This kid is studying medicine? And in the next second, Li Xian lifted the tweezers and reached directly into Hu Wei's wound, pinning the gauze used to stop the bleeding and pulling it out directly. Intense pain. Let Hu Wei for a moment to see their own tie loose. Anesthetic are not used. Do not know the gentle point? Where's the anesthetic? Anesthetize me. Perhaps it was because of the adrenaline injected. Hu Wei was a bit more conscious and kept yelling at Li Xian because it was just too painful. But Li Xian acted as if he couldn't hear it, and with both hands working together, a tourniquet in one hand and tweezers in the other, he steadily and accurately entered the wound again and removed the bullet. The entire process took just over 10 seconds. Ding dash. When the bullet was casually thrown aside by Li Xian on the ground with a crisp sound, everyone's heart inexplicably followed with a sigh of relief. After all, in their opinion, when the bullet was taken out, the danger was also eliminated for the most part. He then examined Hu Wei's wound and found that the kid was quite lucky that the bullet had entered his body and did not injure his internal organs, so he only needed to stitch up the wound. And so it was. In front of the hundreds of people in the room, Li Xian used tweezers to hold a needle and began to stitch Hu Wei's wound. His pain. Take it easy. Take it easy. Hu Wei was still yelling and screaming. While his body struggled, it couldn't help but affect Li Xian's ability to sew up his wounds, and he was so angry that he raised his hand and slapped Hu Wei on the face. Pa dash. The crisp sound came out. Not only did Hu Wei instantly lose his movement, but the surrounding crowd was also dumbfounded. Sigma, degree delta degree. The crowd's brains were a little foggy. Are all rescuers so rough these days? Shouldn't the injured be properly comforted and stabilized? Beep again and I'll kill you with a pair of tweezers. I don't know what I'm talking about. After punching Hu Wei hard, this kid finally honestly stopped talking. More than the pain of his wounds, Li Xian brought him more fear at this moment. About half a minute later, Li Xian subtracted the thread and took out the gauze to bandage it. A mere 2 minutes or less had passed since he had made his move. The entire process was breathtaking. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed that Li Xian would still be able to do this. This technique is not at all inferior to those professionals inside the hospital. Even if they were amateurs, they could still tell that Li Xian's techniques were skillful. It's like some chef. You can tell something from the way he cuts the vegetables with the knife, whether the person has real skills or not. Apparently Li Xian does. Alright, don't eat spicy and stimulating things lately, and don't touch water. Be careful of wound inflammation. Like a doctor, he stands up without forgetting to admonish his patients. Coming. Where's the injured patient? Just then, belatedly, paramedics rushed into the dinner scene with a stretcher. The team's doctor, named Jiang Song, is the First People's Hospital in Nanyuan City. Emergency department doctors, because of its excellent technology, harvested a lot of patients' praise. The office is the banner hanging on the wall. Which one of you called the ambulance? Where is the wounded man? Seeing that no one responded to him, he had to scan the scene himself, only to realize that there was a man lying next to a table against the corner. When he rushed over, he found that the wound had already been bandaged. What's going on? Isn't it a gunshot wound? You can't stop the bleeding with just gauze. At least this outermost layer you'll have to use something sealed. It was exactly the same as what Li Xian had said before, except that the wound had now been treated to stop the bleeding, so bandaging it with breathable gauze was the right choice. When he finished speaking, he knelt down and prepared to take the wound apart. There's no need to remove it. I've taken the bullet out and the wound is stitched up. Looking up at Li Xian, who spoke, Jiang Song showed a puzzled expression on his face. Are you kidding me? It takes special care to remove bullets. What if you accidentally injure other internal tissues? Also suture the wounded. This thing has more technical content. Even the hospital inside, the doctors and nurses who have just been transferred, may not be able to independently complete in this case. But when he removed the gauze, he was instantly dumbfounded. The wound has literally been stitched up, and the stitching was so beautiful that every stitch was comparable to what was shown in a textbook. And even for him, it was only possible when he was particularly focused and in good shape. How's it going, doctor? How's my son doing? Beside Hu Wei, his old father Hu Jun, who had not dared to make a sound, opened his mouth to inquire. Even though he had also seen the entire process of Li Xian's rescue, he still preferred to believe the words of these professionals in front of him. The wound has been stitched up, so I'm not sure what's going on inside at the moment. I'll have to go back to the hospital for further tests. Looking at the bloody slug sitting on the ground next to him, he was already brainstorming what had happened here before he arrived and how the other side had gotten the bullets out. Without too much delay, Zhang Song immediately let the accompanying colleagues put Hu Wei on the stretcher to carry away. Lu Hao, if anything happens to my son, you, and you. Hu Jun pointed at Lu Hao and Li Xian successively and finally pointed at Duan's family members including Duan Yafei. And you guys, none of you are going to run away. Before leaving after the paramedics, Hu Jun didn't forget to drop a harsh word to the crowd. He had only one son, and if he lost it, he would do whatever it took to make these people who had directly or indirectly sexually killed his son pay the price they deserved. What's going on? Who's hurting people with guns? Before he could walk out, a group of uniformed police officers once again rushed in from outside. They were notified by the hospital that there had been a shooting here and someone had suffered a gunshot wound, and immediately moved to get here in case the gunman hurt someone again. Here's your stuff. Back to you. In the corner position, the panicked Lu Hao shoved the AK in his hand directly into Li Xian's arms, as if the gun was out of his hand and what had just happened had nothing to do with him. Li Xian, looking at the AK-47 in his hand, the muscles at the corners of Li Xian's mouth slightly twitched. This kid is quick enough to react. As soon as the police arrived, they threw their guns at him. Did they really think they could hide from them? Comrade policeman, he's got the gun. What he didn't expect was that Lu Hao pointed at himself and yelled in the next second, instantly attracting the attention of the police. This caused Su Kai and the others who hadn't looked over to be startled, and even broke out in a cold sweat. Boy, it's still a lance? If I'm not mistaken, this is an AK-47, right? Su Kai is a few people in the seniority of the older one. At the moment was also scared not light. Thought the criminals use a pistol or simulation of a gun. Did not think or this big guy. For a while, several people drew their guns and pointed them at Li Xian. Don't move. Slowly put the firearm in your hand on the ground. Seeing this afterthought of the several people, Li Xian directly rolled his eyes. If he was really a gangster, he would have given them a surprise attack the moment they came in. Where would he have given them the chance to pull out a gun and threaten himself? To put it bluntly, even in this current situation, he, Li Xian, was still fearless. A few pistols were just a few pistols. He could casually display a set of stances to completely circumvent the other party's gun line, thus getting close enough to grab the gun and kill the target back. It was just a pity that this was in the country. He was a citizen of the Dragon Kingdom no matter what. He had to obey the law. You guys take it easy. I wasn't the one who just shot someone. It was him. He pointed his gun at Lu Hao, who was only 2 or 3 meters away from him. So many people could be watching just now, so it was impossible for this kid to hide. Unbeknownst to him, when he saw him pointing his gun at Lu Hao, Su Kai's few policemen became even more agitated. Even their voices were aggravated by a few points. Muzzle down. Put the gun down first. Seeing that a few people were so afraid of the AK-47 in their hands, Li Xian simply cooperated and placed the gun on the ground in front of him. Seeing this, Su Kai bravely approached a little bit closer. After he stretched his leg and kicked the AK-47 out of Li Xian's certain range, only then did the crowd secretly breathe a sigh of relief, and their voices spoke with confidence. You put your hands on your head and crouch in place. No, I cooperated when you told me to drop the gun. Isn't this head holding and crouching a bit much? As the international king of mercenaries, he was willing to lay low and go along with the other side just so he could have a great college experience. But there had to be a limit to cooperation, right? Holding his head and crouching was something he would never do. You do what the comrade police officer tells you to do, and you're still justified in shooting and wounding people? Unexpectedly, Lu Hao did not know where to get the courage. Actually began to evil first. Not only Li Xian, to Duan Yafei and Lin Wan and Wang Yang and others are listening to a face of confusion. This kid is treating everyone in the room like they're cuties. What? If he said something like that, how many people present would believe it? Except for those police officers who were unaware of it just now. Yes. Officer Su, quickly arrest him. This kid was armed and injured just now. We all saw it. Not waiting for Li Xian to open his mouth to scold Lu Hao twice. Over at the elders' table, Lu Hao's old man Lu Qiming had already stood up and opened his mouth. Lu Hao, the little one, even if it is not enough, now even Lu Qiming, the old one, is also against the Big Dipper. It is really hot. No, is there something wrong with you two men? It was your son who shot and wounded the man, so why are you blaming me? Can't figure it out. Li Xian is really confused. So many pairs of eyes are staring, and around the scene of the charity dinner, there are surveillance everywhere. So many certified physical evidence. Even if the other party can say flowers today, it is impossible to frame him. Young man, We must speak with evidence. You say my son fired the gun. Show me some proof. No. And you're questioning it? Li Xian's face was filled with incredulity. When the forest is really big, there are all kinds of birds. It's not easy to get evidence. There are so many cameras at the scene. Get someone to casually go and pull up the footage and see if they don't know. Sukai thought it made sense that as long as he had seen the surveillance video, then everything would be able to come to light and avoid unnecessary arguments. Wei, go to the security department and ask them to pull up the surveillance and take a look. I'm sorry, Officer Su. All of our hotel's surveillance lines are under maintenance today, so they've been off since this morning. A man wearing the uniform of a hotel employee came over. His name was Dong Ping, the general manager, or store manager, of this hotel. A few minutes ago, he had already received a text message notification from Lu Qiming, asking him to delete the surveillance video here and cooperate with him in performing the drama, and he would be able to get a reward of $10 million afterwards. That's $10 million. Although he is a store manager, but the annual salary is only $1 million, counting the occasional rake and some extra money or something, hold up $2 to $3 million, so the calculation, $10 million he needs to earn 3 years, and now, he just need to cooperate with a few words, we'll be able to get, why not? Besides, Lu's family is still the local big family in South Source. The relationship is hard. How to think it is not possible to go wrong. So this 10 million is equivalent to a free gift. He did not even think too much. Directly agreed. What about you guys? Who did you guys just see move? Since there was no CCTV footage, then Sukai had no choice but to ask the others present. With so many people present, I can't believe no one saw it. It's him. That's the boy. Officer Su, arrest him. There were voices in the crowd coaxing, not knowing how the other party had managed to make these people willingly say such words against their will. No, Officer Su. It wasn't Li Xian who fired the gun. It was Lu Hao. Duan Yafei and Lin Wan hurriedly blocked in front of Li Xian to defend themselves. That's right. It was Lu Hao who shot and injured Hu Wei just now. Both of us can testify. Fifi, you don't get to talk here, so keep your mouth shut. In the direction of the elders' table, Duan Pengfei suddenly stood up and rebuked, causing Duan Yufei to stare blankly. What does it mean? Lu Hao's old man wants to reverse right and wrong to protect Lu Hao, and her dad wants to be involved? Dad, are you even you? Little Chen, Missy might be a little tired. You can take her back to rest first. Without waiting for Duan Yufei to finish her sentence, Butler Chen had already come to her side and forcefully dragged her away, leaving Lin Wan alone still standing in front of Li Xian. I'm sorry, Ms. Lin. I've just been informed that your father asked me to arrange for a special car to take you back, so please go with Butler Chen as well. The only two people who dared to speak for Li Xian were now taken away one by the other party, and even if Su Kai's reaction was slow, he still saw something. It was just a pity that he wasn't enough compared to these behemoths, because people can call their leaders at the drop of a hat, and to put it bluntly, they can decide at will whether or not he can still wear this uniform. So now he also needs to choose to take sides, whether to continue to uphold the law and arrest the real culprits, or to cooperate with the other side's harboring and take away the person in front of him who is suspected of being falsely accused. He was very torn up inside. We can testify too. Suddenly, a few people, Wang Yong, who had remained silent, stood out. He really opened his eyes today. This kind of thing the other side also want to harbor Lu Hao? Other people would be afraid of his Lu family, but he wouldn't be. They can all be on the military side, with special status, and they can be completely truthful. Seeing Wang Yong's few people come forward, Duan Yafei and Lin Wan, who had been forcibly taken away, more or less had a few moments of comfort. At least after they were taken away, there were people willing to testify for Li Xian, not to be Lu Hao's dad. Lu Qiming, unilateral backroom operation, was wrongly accused. You are? Seeing the military uniform the other party was wearing, Su Kai's heart wavered even more. He's just a small police officer. He can only turn a blind eye and play dumb in the face of the rich and powerful Lu family. That's how he survives. However, if this matter could be intervened by someone from the military, he could cooperate a little to avoid the situation of someone being falsely accused as much as possible. My name is Wang Yong. I'm the platoon leader of the South Source military region. 1st Platoon. 2nd Company. 1st Marines. Hello Platoon Leader Wang, my name is Su Kai. I'm a police officer from the Xingyang District Police Station in Nanyuan City. The two men introduced themselves and shook each other's hands. But before Wang Yong could narrate what happened, Lu Qiming, who was not far away, suddenly coughed twice. Platoon Leader Wang, how about you answer the phone first? Answer the phone? Almost the instant Wang Yang asked, his cell phone rang. Step aside alone to connect. What? But he, okay, I got it. In less than a minute, Wang Yang walked back. In contrast to a moment ago, His face wasn't looking too good right now. Tough. It's just too hard. This Liu family was really hard connected enough to make their Marine Corps captain personally call him. Platoon leader Wang, could I trouble you to retell what just happened? Who the hell just shot someone? I'm sorry. I wasn't there so I don't know who fired the shots. Li Xian was confused. How can you say that with your eyes open? But considering that the Liu family was operating behind the scenes, he was relieved. He didn't blame Wang Yong. After all, he had already shown that he wanted to testify for himself before. It was just that Nai received a phone call that could sway his decision and had no choice but to say so. Officer Su, you heard that, didn't you? No one can testify to this kid now. But instead, a number of people have been able to testify that he fired the shots. I'm sure you have a pretty good idea of who to grab and go. He's certainly aware of it. It is clear that the person who shot the gun is 80% his son Liu Hao. But due to the pressure exerted by the other party, he could only play dumb and go along with what the other party wanted to continue now. Excuse me, this student. Please come with us. Su Kai pulled out a pair of handcuffs from his waist behind him, and without going through Li Xian's consent, he was ready to go and cuff him. But just as he approached Li Xian half a meter range, from inside the crowd quickly rushed out two men in suits. One blocked in front of Li Xian, the other was backhanded handcuffs, directly to Su Kai double handcuffed. It happened so suddenly that no one but Li Xian could react. Even the few people who were Marines, Wang Yong, were half a beat slower to react. One by one, all wide-eyed. They did not blink. This handcuffs how to run to Su Kai's wrist up? Don't you guys move. Move again and we'll shoot. After a few seconds had passed, several police officers who reacted quickly turned their guns on the two men. The right to shoot targets when their lives and the lives of the public are threatened. However, for a change no one was expecting. It was better if they didn't say anything. But when they did, the two men rushed up at gunpoint and snapped the pistol so that they couldn't fire it even if they wanted to. In the next second, the pistol was surrendered back to the other side, and the muzzle of the gun that was originally pointed at the other side was now turned back on them. This scene instantly solidified the atmosphere of the entire charity dinner. What did they see? The police pulled out their guns to control the scene, and in turn were controlled by the other side? So, is it their turn next? In an instant, the dinner scene once again became silent. The so-called sense of security was lost, and many people secretly swallowed their saliva, fearing that the other party would give themselves a shot. Wang Yang and a few others were even more ashamed to look at themselves. These two looked like professionals in their approach. The timing of seizing the gun and the movement of holding the gun, each of them was so skillful, which to say that it was not professionally trained. Killing him would not believe. Hey, what are you doing? You're assaulting a police officer. Do you know that? All of you put your guns down. Seeing that the matter was getting bigger and bigger, and was developing to the point of assaulting the police, Li Xian hurriedly opened his mouth to stop it. If the gun goes off and accidentally hurts someone, he can't even jump into the Yellow River to get clean. Click 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 dash. In front of everyone, the two men in suits removed the pistol magazines on the spot and even retired the bullets from the chamber. This one is called professional. This couldn't help but make Wang Yang wonder what these two people were doing. Their vigilance was a bit too strong. Excuse me, Officer Su. They're the bodyguards my uncle hired for me. I apologize if I have offended you. Did he have any choice but to forgive? Not only were his hands handcuffed, but even his colleague's gun was seized. It's okay. We can understand. Seeing that the other party listened to Li Xian's words and did not take any further action, Su Kai immediately signaled his companion to take the key and help him unlock the handcuffs. What a hell of a day. What kind of trouble had he gotten himself into? The murderer was a member of the Liu family, not to mention that this person who was wrongly accused also gave him a feeling that he couldn't afford to mess with him. He glanced over to Liu Qining's side. The other party seemed to have received some kind of signal, and immediately shouted again. See, Officer Su, this kid still has accomplices, and it doesn't look like a good person. It's recommended that we investigate strictly. Check a dircha. Try checking one if you can. Su Kai gave the other party a blank look. Is he blind? He himself has been controlled by others once. You come to tell me, how can this be checked? This student, see if this is okay. I don't need to handcuff you either, and I won't pursue the matter of your two bodyguards assaulting the police. I just hope you personally can come back to the police station with us and cooperate with the investigation. And if this really has nothing to do with you, you can leave anytime you want. He had used a consultative tone. In all the years he had been on the job, it was the first time he had been so stifled on a case. A trip with you isn't out of the question. After thinking about it, Li Xian also wanted to trivialize the matter, so he simply satisfied this point of the other party's request, who let him be a good citizen who obeyed the law. It's just that I need to wait for someone else to deliver what I've donated. Wait until after the donation. Okay, then, as you wish. he was no longer afraid to ask for anything more. As long as the other person was willing to go back with him, then there was no harm in waiting a little longer. And while waiting, Su Kai subconsciously inquired to Li Xian out of professional habit. At the risk of sounding presumptuous, "Who is your uncle and where did you hire this bodyguard?" Because he was afraid that it was the same as what Lu Qiming had said. These two people who had made a move on them just now were not good people, so it was better to ask for some clarity. Even Wang Yong had his ears perked up to eavesdrop, wanting to know who this awesome uncle of Li Xian was. "Zhao Group. Mr. Zhao has arrived." Just then, the person who had been specially arranged by Duan Pengfei to wait outside for Zhao Yiqiang shouted inside. This caused Li Xian, who didn't know how to answer, to suddenly have a flash of light. "My uncle is here." Crowd. Downstairs at the Yiguayin Hotel, Duan Yafei and Lin Wan were brought down by force. "Alright, you guys get the hell off of us." "I'm sorry, Missy. The master said for us to take you straight back." A few people did not want to let go. Still left and right, an average of 2 people group. The 2 women will be set up to leave. Wait. Suddenly, she saw a Rolls-Royce pull up in front of the hotel. Wan, this seems to be Zhao Yiqiang's car, eh? What happened to his car? It's not like he can help Li Xian. After glancing along and realizing that the person who came down from the car was indeed Zhao Yiqiang, Lin Wan was nonetheless unconcerned. The current her couldn't be interested in anything unless it was something that could help Li Xian. When she thought that it was because she and Duan Yafei had invited Li Xian over that he had been vilified, her heart felt extremely guilty. "No, you guys let go of me. I need to call home." Her dad hadn't come to the charity dinner, so he didn't know what was going on here. If she could get her dad to intervene, not to say that she could send Lu Hao, the real culprit, in, but at least she would be able to protect Li Xian and return his innocence. Seeing Lin Wan calling for help, Duan Yafei also felt very bad in her heart, and in the final analysis, all the responsibility was on her, because her dad was actually involved in the matter of slandering Li Xian. How would she have the face to face Li Xian in the future? Looking at Zhao Yiqiang, who was leading people into the hotel, Duan Yafei didn't hold back a burst of fantasy. AI. If only he could help Li Xian. I guess the Lu family wouldn't even dare to let out a single fart. It was only at this moment that she realized how weak she was, that she could only watch as even her friends got into trouble. "Okay, Dad? I'll promise you what I did before if you'll help." "Okay, let's make a deal." Hanging up the phone, Lin Wan shared with Duan Yafei with slight excitement. "Alright Fifi, my dad promised to help." Hearing these words, Duan Yafei's heart did follow with a sigh of relief. The Lin family was much stronger than the Duan family, so as long as her dad was willing to help, everything was fine. But at the same time, she also heard that in order for the other party to agree to help, Lin Wan seemed to be forced to agree to something. Wan, you didn't promise your father that you would get engaged to that guy, did you?" Lin Wan smiled bitterly and said, "It's fine. It's just an engagement. After saving Li Xian, I'll find a chance to back out." Even though the other party didn't express it, as her good sister, Duan Yafei still knew very well that Lin Wan must be extremely reluctant. Because of this matter, Lin Wan had already rejected her dad, Lin Xiaotian, many times, before and after counting. It was almost half a year, and she often listened to the other party spitting on her. And now, she actually compromised and agreed in order to save Li Xian? But Wan, engagement is not a trivial matter. If you unilaterally withdraw from the marriage, can people agree? An engagement is not a marriage. It's something that doesn't have any substantial legal benefit. It's mostly just some verbal agreement. As long as I don't admit it, then this is as good as nothing. It was a decision that she had given serious thought to being able to make. Upstairs at the Hirshhorn Hotel, everyone stared dumbfounded at Li Xian. Did they hear right? Li Xian's uncle is Zhao Yiqiang? This kid is the nephew of that big shot? For a while, everyone was puzzled, although they have not seen much of that big brother. But about the big brothers things more or less also know some. Also did not hear that the other side has any nephews and so on especially Lu Qiming. His heart stuttered. If Zhao Yiqiang was really this Li Xian's uncle, then he would be finished. With Zhao Yiqiang's temper, wouldn't he waste his Lu family? Squeaky. With the doors to the dinner site being pushed open, several figures walked in one after another, and the one walking at the front was none other than Zhao Yiqiang, next to Secretary Yuan. With his arrival, the tension in the atmosphere rose further. It couldn't be helped. Who let this big brother in front of them be the one they usually couldn't see even if they wanted to? Even people from big families like the Duan family and the Lu family would need to make an appointment in advance to see each other. If you can get the other party's appreciation and slightly lift a hand, then you will certainly soar. "Mr. Zhao. Good evening, Mr. Zhao. Welcome Mr. Zhao." There were unsolicited greetings everywhere along the way. It was a pity that Zhao Yiqiang didn't take any notice of it, but instead, His gaze swept around and directly landed on Li Xian, who was positioned near the corner. "Welcome, Mr. Zhao. Quick, over there please." Duan Pengfei took the initiative to leave the table and walk over, and those at the same table each followed suit and stood up as a sign of respect. However, Zhao Yiqiang didn't pay attention to him and brushed right past him, as if he was a transparent person who couldn't be seen. This made Duan Pengfei incredibly embarrassed. The outstretched hand froze awkwardly in mid-air, and for a moment it was not right to take it back, nor was it right not to take it back. "Sorry Xiao Xian. There was suddenly a bit of traffic on the road and I'm late." His face was full of smiles, just as if he was as respectful as Duan Pengfei just now. This surprised no one around them. "Isn't he Li Xian's uncle? How come he doesn't look like it?" "Uncle, you're finally here." What he never expected was that Li Xian suddenly grabbed his hand with a frightened look. "Ha!" In an instant, Zhao Yiqiang's sweaty hairs stood up. He thought over all the things he had done today, but he couldn't think of where he had offended the other party to be able to make them call him uncle in return. At this moment, he even had the heart to kneel down for Li Xian. "Junior Xian, what are you?" He just wanted to continue to ask something, but Li Xian hugged him, when it was really like an uncle and nephew who hadn't seen each other for a long time catching up. Status changed. "You're my uncle now." Although he didn't know what was happening, when he heard Li Xian whispering in his ear, he had no choice but to nod along. Uncle and nephew embraced for a few seconds before Li Xian reminded, "By the way, uncle, where are the things you brought for me?" "Stuff?" Staring blankly, Zhao Yiqiang almost didn't react. "Someone, bring over the things you brought for little Shen." Suddenly changing his name to Xiao Xian, he was still a bit oddly uncomfortable. In response, the two men in suits standing at the end of the room successively brought over Qi Baisher's ink shrimp drawing and the bronze three-legged tripod. These two items were specially prepared by Xiao Xian for today's charity dinner. It's just that he was in a hurry to leave the house and forgot to bring them. "I heard that you guys are deliberately targeting him for this. Is that true?" Zhao Yiqiang's gaze rested on Lu Qiming's body, staring the other party's back with cold sweat. Obviously the other party was asking him knowingly, wanting to see how he would answer. "I'm sorry Mr. Zhao. This is all a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" I Xian Xiao. "Oh no, my nephew is also something you can misunderstand? You think it's going to be okay if you say there's been a misunderstanding?" The already serious atmosphere became more and more tense because of his words. Even Su Kai, who was a civilian police officer, and Wang Yong, who was a marine, all held their breath and didn't dare to disturb. The scene was very quiet for a while. After Zhao Yiqiang, no one dared to speak again. Almost everyone's eyes were focused on Li Xian. What did they hear? Zhao Yiqiang personally admitted that the other party is his nephew? Boy, dare to slander this big brother's nephew. The Lu family is only going to be finished. So much so that the people who had just received favors and followed to echo the slander against Li Xian were now all on edge, fearing that what they had done just now would be pursued by the other party as well. "Mr. Zhao, brother Zhao, I didn't know he was your nephew. If I had known he was your nephew, I wouldn't have dared even if I had 100 guts." Lu Qiming left from his position as he spoke and quickly stepped in front of Li Xian, bending and bowing 180 degrees in front of everyone. "I'm sorry Xiao Xian, what happened just now was all a misunderstanding. I still hope you don't take it personally." It's easy to see from his words and actions that he really knows he's afraid. However, Li Xian didn't even bother to take care of him, and with both hands in his pockets, he opened his mouth to Duan Pengfei and said, "Old Duan remember, these two items are donated to be used for charitable purposes, and if I find out that you've used them for something else, then don't blame me for being impolite." Yes, please rest assured young Master Xian. Every single thing and every penny donated by everyone at the charity dinner will definitely be used practically on top of the public welfare cause, as long as the other party does not pursue himself to cooperate with Lu Qiming to slander. Let him do anything. At Zhao Yiqiang's signal, two of his men transferred the ink shrimp figure and the bronze three-legged tripod together to the staff at the site, and after the staff had done some appraisal of the donations, they announced it on the spot. "Thank you Mr. Zhao for donating the Qi Baisher ink shrimp." Wait, halfway through his words, Zhao Yiqiang interrupted with a voice. "What do you mean thank you Mr. Zhao? This was donated by my nephew. He should be thanked." "In the end, can you speak? Won't say reswitch to someone else and come back." Seeing Zhao Yiqiang's anger, the staff member responsible for the announcement immediately changed his words. "Thank you, Mr. Xian, for donating a pair of Qi Baisher ink shrimp drawings with a market valuation of 7.65 million, and a bronze three-legged tripod. Market valuation $12.62 million. How much?" This time it was Li Xian's turn to be nonplussed. He had just casually looked at these two items, and his mental expectation was only a few 100,000 up and down. So how come it had now turned into a few 100 million? "No, what are you donating here?" "Curio." Zhao Yiqiang was flabbergasted. Weren't all the things donated at the charity dinner? Could it be that it was because the total value of these things didn't meet Li Xian's mental expectations and was beneath him that this was why he was angry? Right. That must be it. After realizing this, Zhao Yiqiang hurriedly took off the wristwatch on his hand. So who? Donate this too. When the appraiser took the watch into his hands and glanced at it briefly, his hands trembled. Mr. Zhao, you really want to donate this watch? Right. Donate. His idea was simple. Since Li Xian disliked the fact that what he donated was not valuable enough and was beneath his dignity, he would donate until the other party was satisfied. For him now, anything that could be solved within a few billion was no big deal. Grrr. The appraiser swallowed hard and this time opened his mouth to make the announcement himself. Thank you, Mr. Zhao. To be on the safe side, he shouted while sneaking a look at Zhao Yiqiang. And after realizing that the other party had glared at him fiercely, he hurriedly changed his words. Thank you, Mr. Xian, for donating a Patek Philippe Master Rattle wristwatch with a market value of $210 million. In an instant, the entire dinner scene was nonplussed. The two antiques just now add up to more than $20 million. And that's not enough to donate a wristwatch worth $200 million? If I'm not mistaken, this is a global limited edition of 7 watches. One was collected by Patek Philippe Company itself, equivalent to the market circulation only 6 only. At that time, I heard that one was bought by a mysterious big brother in China. I did not expect that in Mr. Zhou here. A man who was quite knowledgeable about watches couldn't hold back his exclamation of surprise, causing the crowd, which was already in awe of the price, to be taken aback once again. This level of things, how much money is already secondary. It is rare in number. The collection value is the first. And to be able to take this kind of thing out to donate, it can only be said that Zhao Yiqiang is a ruthless person. Defeat. It's really too defeating. Li Xian's heart was even dripping blood. What the hell does this guy want? You don't have to be that rich, do you? He didn't even get over his $20 million donation. What's the point of adding another $200 million? I don't know. Zhao Yiqiang found that Li Xian's face was still not quite right, thinking that he did not donate enough. So he took out a bunch of checks from inside his suit pocket, and lifted his pen to brush down 1 billion on it. Here, add another $1 billion. Stop. Finally, Li Xian couldn't watch any longer and hurriedly raised his hand to stop it, pulled Zhao strongly aside. No, why did you donate so much? There's a mine in the family. Wasn't it you who thought I didn't donate enough? When did I say you didn't donate enough? Li Xian was dumbfounded. He had never said anything like that from the beginning to the end. Okay, but didn't you just ask me what I was donating, and didn't you mean it was too little? Li Xian's heart had 10,000 grass mud horses galloping past. Is that too little for him? It's clearly too much. Okay? Forget it. Just donate what you just donated. This check of yours, it's waived. Things had already happened, and it was too embarrassing to ask people to return the wristwatch, so Li Xian could only accept this fact. But now almost everyone was staring at the two of them. All seemed to be wondering if they're going to donate this $1 billion check or not. With Zhao Yiqiang's status, the things had been taken out. And if he just took them back, he was afraid that there was something wrong. So who? Officer Su, don't we have to go back to the station to investigate? The stuff has been donated. Let's go. In order to be able to help Zhao Yiqiang save the 1 billion, Li Xian took the initiative to ask Su Kai. Thinking about it, right now, the only way to keep the $1 billion is to leave with the other side in name only. No need. I think that is Mr. Zhao's nephew. You certainly didn't shoot anyone. Young Xian. There must be some kind of misunderstanding here. Right. This is a misunderstanding. Don't take it personally, young Xian. Lu Qiming took the opportunity to follow suit and chime in to beg for Li Xian's forgiveness. That's not good. We can't break the rules. What Su Kai didn't expect was that Li Xian actually took the initiative to walk over and hooked his shoulders before heading out. Anymore, I'm going to have to go back with you to get a statement right. You've come all this way. I can't let you return empty-handed, can I? There's really no need for young Xian. It's too much trouble. Su Kai waved his hand repeatedly. He would have been very happy to do so before, but it was different now. Li Xian was Zhao Yiqiang's nephew. If he was taken away, I'm afraid he would have to say goodbye to his post tomorrow. Don't be polite to me. We'll make this statement today. Su Kai, Sigma? As he watched, Li Xian pulled Su Kai away. Zhao Yiqiang also hurriedly followed and left. After seeing the two masters walk away, everyone present couldn't help but secretly breathe a sigh of relief. Especially Lu Qiming. It gave him a feeling of having been robbed of his life. Old Lu. Old Lu. You're killing me. Duan Pengfei walked over quickly and pointed at him with some complaints. And even though Zhao Yiqiang had now left, Both of them knew very well in their hearts that the other party would definitely keep this matter in his heart. It is also natural that they will be retaliated against accordingly afterwards. So they have to find a way to make amends as much as possible before the other side's retaliation comes. But I didn't know that kid was Zhao Yiqiang's nephew either. Compared to Duan Pengfei, Zhao Yiqiang is on the verge of crying. Today's matter is that he is single-handedly operating. If you want to talk about retaliation, his retaliation is definitely the most ruthless. What should we do, Dad? That Zhao won't let us go. Why don't we run away overnight? Lu Hao, who was the party involved, also came to the side of the two men, and in his heart, he was now not worried, but fearful. He never expected that an ordinary person that he had so despised would transform into Zhao Yiqiang's nephew, and would be able to hold him down and rub him on the ground from his identity alone. Pa dash. Lu Qiming slapped him hard and roared in anger. You still have the nerve to scream. If it wasn't for the sake of protecting you, could I do this? You say you, good reason to touch that gun for what? And you even injured the man Hu Wei. Speaking of this, Lu Hao has countless grievances inside. Just like his dad didn't know that Li Xian was Zhao Yiqiang's nephew, he also didn't know that the AK-47 was the real thing. It's not like I did it on purpose. It happened. What can I do about it? Seeing Lu Hao's picture of a dead pig, Lu Qiming almost didn't pass out from anger. He raised his hand to slap the other man again, but half a day passed but he could never get off. Hey, forget it, I'll make the arrangements. You can leave the country first thing in the morning. As things stood, it was useless for him to beat Lu Hao anymore, and the only right choice was to follow what Lu Hao said and run away overnight. What about you, Dad? Aren't you coming with me? Go? Where can I go? Our Lu family has everything in Nanyuan. I definitely can't leave. But what about the one named Zhao who took revenge on you? Retaliation is retaliation. It's a blessing, not a curse. It's a curse that can't be avoided. Someone has to take it. You, on the other hand, I just hope you don't give me any more trouble when you get abroad. Pity the world's parents. Father and son's conversation. To Wang Yang and others are looking inexplicably somewhat touched, but at the same time, they were all clear that this was something the other party had asked for. Assuming that Li Xian didn't have this identity of Zhao Yiqiang's nephew, then there was no way that they would regret this. Just after 9 o'clock in the evening, Li Xian walked out of the Xingyang District Police Station. Behind them were Zhao Yiqiang and Su Kai, among others. Take care, young Xian. They say they're here to make a statement, but they're really just coming over for a cup of tea. Thanks for the hospitality, Officer Su. There's no need to send them off. Waving his hand, Li Xian got into Zhao Yiqiang's Rolls-Royce. Only after the car left from the entrance of the police station did Su Kai wipe the sweat off his forehead. Luckily the director wasn't there. If he was, he would have scolded him half to death. It's not good to bring anyone but Zhao Yiqiang. Teen Su. Although this Li Xian, although he called Zhao Yiqiang uncle, how come I don't feel like it? That's right. Just now when I was drinking tea in the office, I found Zhao Yiqiang stealing glances at Li Xian more than once. He didn't even move a bit before Li Xian drank it, and it felt as if he was scared of him. Who cares? Maybe the uncle is partial to spoiling this nephew. Saying that, he actually did find out himself. He just thought it was none of his business. So why bother? Remember, in the future, if any of you come across this Li Xian again, what to do is clear to all of you, right? Understood. Several people nodded their heads at the same time, and the words open back door silently came to mind. 100 Lakes Imperial View Villa Area, Pavilion 1. As per Li Xian's request, Zhao Yiqiang directly sent him back. You have a good rest. Young Xian, I'll have Yuan pick you up from school early tomorrow morning. No, I'll just go by myself. He had wanted to keep a low profile, but if he had a limousine to take him to and from school, what the hell was a low profile? If he really wanted to be high profile, he'd have no problem giving a shout out to the people in the relevant departments and driving a tank. That's fine. I'll arrange a nanny for you later to take care of your daily life. That shouldn't be a problem, right? A babysitter can be had, preferably the kind that cooks better. He spends a lot of time traveling abroad, so he rarely gets to eat domestic meals, especially the various home-cooked meals, which he could really miss. Okay, I'll leave you to it then. After sending Zhao Yiqiang away, Li Xian entered the villa's living room and looked at the oversized sofa that was big enough to accommodate 20 or so people. He jumped right on it. It was soft, so soft that he wanted to just sleep here, but after just 2 minutes of lying down, he sat up. Mindfulness. A system interface that only he could see appeared. That's right, this was the very same omnipotent system that he had acquired. Looking at the various assortment of ability talents that were already filled with his points, he fell into deep thought. Fighting talent, max. Firearms proficiency, max. Insight, max. Eagle eye, max. Golden gun, max. 1,000 drinks, max. Over the years he had not only been developing his mercenary forces abroad, but also upgrading the level of these natural abilities at the same time. Almost most of the natural abilities had been filled by him, leaving only a few that he hadn't taken into account. Hint: the system has detected the presence of high-profile behavior on the part of the host. System upgrade points -10. Hint: the system has detected the presence of high-profile behavior on the part of the host. System upgrade points -10. Hint: the system has detected the presence of high-profile behavior on the part of the host. System upgrade points -10. Asterisk 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 asterisk. It really did buckle after all. Watch the system log. He punched the couch in anger. One didn't pay attention and directly smashed a hole in the sofa. Even the floor below was instantly cracked. The main reason why he was so angry was that the system upgrades required a certain number of points to be accumulated, and in order to obtain these points, he would need to obtain them by improving his various natural abilities. And rather oddly, the dog system would have some limiting buffs from time to time, before it was to get him to do something at a specific time. There's also going somewhere, looking for something. Without exception, points are rewarded for success and deducted for the opposite. And half a month ago, such a quest buff that made him lay low was suddenly refreshed, with no specific time hints or specific completion conditions. It seemed that he could only wait for it to disappear. It was worth mentioning that it had a very generous reward of 10,000 system points. I thought it would be over in a few days, but I didn't realize it hadn't cleared up in half a month. No, today's carelessness made him lose hundreds of points for nothing. Heartache was heartache, but his intuition told him that in a short while, this quest buff would disappear, and then the system would be able to meet the upgrade conditions. No, we must keep a lower profile from tomorrow onward to be able to do that. With that in mind, he got up and went to the fridge to find something to eat, and after casually dealing with it he went to wash up and go to bed. But in the middle of the night, I suddenly heard a rattling at the door downstairs. A burglar in the house? Out of instinctive reaction, he immediately jumped out of bed and stood in the put doorway, gently pulling it open a crack. After some observation on his part, he confirmed that someone had come in downstairs. Not quite what he expected though. The person who came in had long hair, wore a tight black dress with a curvy figure, and stepped on a pair of black high heels, so she didn't look like a thief or anything like that. The other person was also holding a plastic bag that appeared to contain something. "Don't worry, Mr. Zhao, I'm already in. Make sure breakfast is ready before Hyunjae wakes up." Hearing the other party whispering as he continued the call, Li Xian suddenly reacted to something. This woman couldn't be the nanny Zhao Yicheng found for him, right?